Ahsoka Tano makes her live action debut in The Mandalorian Season 2, and we are here gathered today to talk about that very story. And I'm going to bring myself on camera. That's how excited I am about this damn show. I'm going to even talk to you just like this. And it's not just me in this moment talking Star Wars with you, not just talking The Mandalorian. We're going to talk about it all. Oh, no. Oh, no. I got to be joined by Pete. Pete, how are you doing, buddy?
I'm great. I'm so happy to be able to finally talk about this episode. I watched you guys this afternoon. We watched it together with our patrons this morning, and now I'm finally able to get all this stuff out and talk with you on it. I'm excited. You must be excited because this is the second time today you've gotten in front of a camera to talk about this episode.
I cried when I saw Ahsoka Tano on screen, so I'm pretty damn happy about it. And I think over the next hour to 2.5 hours, we're going to talk a lot about Ahsoka Tano. I'm sorry, I'm distracted, Pete. I shouldn't bring this up. Your arms look just fantastic. You look like you've been working out.
Thank you so much.
You just, I want to. God, you look jacked. I'm so flattered. I think you're beautiful. We're going to have a lot of fun tonight. We're going to do things differently. Just like Thanksgiving, you go back for seconds. Should you? Not always. Are we taking our own advice here? No. So we're going to be doing a call-in style. Pete's going to break that down in a little bit, but we have some people helping us out. Mr. Scotty J. Rowe of the Bomb Bad Cast. Scotty, how you doing?
Always. How are we doing today?
Very good. How are you doing? That sounded
like you were
today?
Forcing out. Wow.
No. I've had a great day, and I don't want to divulge, but I did a very big adult boy thing today. So
very good. We're very proud of you, buddy.
I know. I know you are. Oh, I'm proud of myself. What's up, fellas?
We're doing really well. Along with Scotty, we also have Jerry. We'll bring Jerry in. Jerry, how are you doing, sir? The Canon Junkie.
What's up, Jerry?
What's up, guys? Oh, wait. Wait. Hi, Pete. Like the Brady Bunch thing here going, what's up, guys? Yeah, I'm here. Holy cow. I am excited to actually get to go on the Leftovers edition.
Oh, yeah.
Of streaming Star Wars.
We like to call this one Sloppy Seconds.
Sloppy Seconds.
Sometimes sloppy seconds are a lot more fun.
Hey, man, this is the Bomb Bad Boys are on, so this is like the late show with Greg Ferguson now.
Yeah, you're right.
Like
you're right.
It's the evening news whenever you guys go on in the afternoon there, Dave. But right now, gloves are off. We're gonna have a fun time. We're gonna talk to some of you fun hipsters out there.
I don't know how I feel about us being called hipsters, but
Grogu.
No, them. I called our.
We're gonna have a good time. Let's go to the live chat real quick.
Glasses.
You know what?
Go for it, Dave.
I was about to say thanks for shaving tonight, but you didn't, Jerry. It's okay. Hey, so in the live chat with us, we got Matthew. All systems remaining. Sam Carey is back. I want to shout out Sam. Sam is a new subscriber of Beyond the Blast Doors as of this afternoon. So welcome to our Star Wars conversation.
Thank you.
Guy. We have Holo Chronicles. I believe that's Andy in the live chat. JD Slessman is there. Yeah, Rosario killed it. Absolutely. We'll talk about that quite a bit. Andre is with us. We have Anthony, a YouTube fan. So Mr. Rez is with us. So we got a good crew. If you can do us a favor real quick, go ahead, hit the share button. Let's try and double the live chat. Let's get 100 people in here talking about The Mandalorian. That would be freaking sick.
Yeah.
Before we start talking about The Mandalorian, Pete, can you break down? We're doing a call-in show. This is the first time, but we think that this is going to work pretty smoothly. How is this going to work?
We always think it's going to work smoothly, but here's where the challenge is. But no, so we're going to put a link up so that you can join us and we use a program called StreamYard, so you can see that in URL. We're going to put that up there. Pop in whenever you like, whenever you have a question, and that's sort of the equivalent of calling, 1-800 awesome Beyond the Blast Doors or whatever. So we're going to put that in there. Click on there. With your question, be prepared. We're going to pull you in, give you a chance to talk to us, tell us what you're thinking, tell us what some questions that you have that you want to throw out there, some theories, anything related to this episode. Because David, Scotty, Jerry, I feel like the Mandalorian changed 100% today. We went into a hairpin turn and things got crazy. So I'm going to throw that link in there. If you want to join us, we'll bring people in as we go throughout the show, but feel free. The other thing to keep in mind, you don't need a camera. It's great if you got one. If not, we'll take your audio. We're good with that. So the link is in there. If you want to pop in, you are all invited. So
we are going to have, I'm really excited about this. I'm going to echo what Pete said. We want everyone to join us tonight, have this Star Wars conversation. There's a lot to get to. We've broken our conversation down into 3 topics. Well, it looks like Pete has a beer. So
Yeah.
we're going to get underway here. I think before we hit our first topic, I would just like to know, you turn on the episode. We anticipate seeing Ahsoka Tano in this series. Some of us thought she might not show up until, I don't know, the very end, maybe the middle. Did you anticipate the first 20 seconds? Pete, the floor is yours. Let me know. Did you think we were going to get her in the first 20 seconds?
You know, it's funny. Last night I started thinking to myself, they're going to start with Ahsoka. And I'm not just saying that because now that we've seen it, of course, I can sound like a genius. But I started thinking that they're just going to start. They're throw her right in there. I didn't expect it to be an entire episode about her. I thought we might see her. We'd follow the Mando. We'd see her again toward the end. But the fact that she was in, 50% of the episode on screen, that's an estimation. But I was just, I was not surprised. I thought it was the right way to do it, but I loved it. I mean, the opening with white lightsabers. Hello. Wow. Yeah.
The tunic looked really good. Some of the controversy is that some people feel like this episode was too Ahsoka. It took the Mandalorian show away from the Mandalorian. I don't know if that's a bad thing for one episode. I thought it was fitting, but we'll get to that maybe in a little bit. Scotty, I want to hear from you. Were you crying? I feel like you were crying by the end.
Okay, now I will talk about this for 20 minutes straight, but for this one moment, the beginning, I liked how unceremonious it was, only because it's not necessarily about Ahsoka. Obviously the episode dealt with her a lot, but it was about the discovery of everything about the child, right? That was a big deal. We got so much more about the child than we ever would have expected this one episode. And her reveal, yes, emotionally moved me, but not in the sense of it could have been a bigger buildup. I'm so glad it wasn't. I thought we'd have 15 minutes of episode before she's like hooded in a bar and she like turns away slowly. Like, oh, there's whoa. But no, it was like, and just, it was perfect. I loved it. I thought they couldn't have done any better, because fans that aren't huge Star Wars nuts like we are, they're just going to get introduced immediately to this character and go, oh, okay, I see what this is about. Like, that's how it should be.
Scotty, I freaking love that. And I think you're absolutely right. There's a takeaway for every fan, no matter of how into Star Wars they are. There's something to take away and really appreciate from this episode. Jerry, listen, the floor is yours, my friend. I want to know, what do you make of The Mandalorian, the Jedi? How did you react?
Well, I don't know if you can see my nameplate that I have going on here, but we're full on spoilers tonight, so I'm Jerry the Grogu junkie. He's hanging out just back there. But I'm not going to lie. I was going to wait until 9 a.m. and watch it, and I couldn't sleep last night. And I get a FaceTime from, while I was in bed, from Mr. J-Ro there. And a whole cast of people, like an entire room of people call me, and I'm shirtless in bed. And they're like, have you watched it? Have you watched it? I'm like, no, not yet. And they're like, dude, you're not ready. You're not ready. And I'm like, all right, fine. I'll watch it.
And then he texted me live reactions to it. Oh my God. It's amazing.
A little bit, yeah. At first I was like, is this Clone Wars? Like, holy cow. And I'll admit, at first, I think I was a little underwhelmed just because I was like, oh, we're just into it. There she is. Boom. But upon my second viewing today, I am like pumping my fist and going, there's such great action in this. This is like the most, I think I was talking to someone on Twitter today about this. It is the most cinematic episode I think we've almost had yet.
Yeah.
The whole thing. And I found myself being angry about this villain who we don't know who she is, stringing up all these innocent citizens and stuff. I don't know. When Bo-Katan said a forest planet, right? I think we were all expecting indoor but with cities, right? Or some kind of different trees, like maybe like a different kind of pine or something.
A spruce, maybe a spruce planet.
Possibly not redwoods. We're going. It's blue woods or something. But or bantha woods. I guess we'll have to go in universe. No, guys, I don't.
You're happy.
Scotty was right. I was not ready.
No one was.
No.
Hey, Jerry, not to cut you off, but we have our
cut me
first
off.
caller. I'm cutting
Bring
you
him
off.
in.
Jerry, Jerry, stop talking, Jerry. Pete,
Ta-da.
for the love of God, Pete, who do we got?
We
Who is
have ARS Michael waiting, standing by. I'm bringing him in. ARS Michael, how are you?
What's up, Michael?
Hey,
How's
I'm
it going, bud?
doing real good.
Why aren't you playing Squadrons right now?
Because
we're not
I
on
wanted
time?
to talk about this episode of The Mandalorian, Pete.
Oh, that's excellent. This is so much better right
There's
now.
bigger things
Right
at
now.
stake, man. Bigger things at stake right now.
I know. I've just got done rewatching the episode after watching it for the first time this morning during the watch party.
Yes, it was so
Dang,
cool. Now, you hadn't seen it before the watch party, right? You
Correct.
were-
I think
yeah.
I was the only person in that watch party who
I
hadn't
think
seen
you
it up to that point.
Yeah, I mean, like Jerry,
Wow.
like I had intended to wait until 9 a.m. this morning to watch it with all you guys. We have a new puppy in the house, and the new puppy decided that it was time to take a crap at 4 in the morning. And
It wasn't
And I
just
was up
one
and I was
crap,
like-
though, right, Pete? It was like explosive diarrhea.
oh yeah,
every
it
hour
was
on the hour.
it was not a fun evening. So I
That
was
sounds
sitting
great.
on my bathroom floor with my earpods in or AirPods, watching it on my phone, and that was the way I took it in for the first time, and was stunned. So, Michael, what do you got? What's your thoughts? What's your first thought on this?
Well, my first thought is, as a huge fanboy of Star Wars Rebels, this episode was everything I wanted it to be.
Mhm.
I absolutely just loved that we got Ahsoka, we got the Thrawn name drop, we've got a little bit of hints of what Ahsoka's been doing in this time period. I mean, we kind of knew, but
Yeah,
just to hear it confirmed is really nice that she is still looking for Thrawn and presumably Ezra.
Yep.
I don't think that I've seen some people complain online about like there wasn't enough Mando in this episode, that it was too Ahsoka focused. I don't agree with that. I think it was pretty well balanced overall. If I also loved that we got more info on the child, Grogu. We now know his name. It's this episode was just crazy with how much we were learning.
So my 11-year-old daughter had the line of the day. We were she was watching it. She's like, "Oh my Grogu, I hate that name. I hate it." I said, "Well, what do you think his name should have been?" And she said, Bobby Yoda. And I was like, "That's brilliant. That's brilliant." So
I think we need to get in touch with Lucasfilm, see if we can retcon this
Bobby Yoda,
immediately.
Yoda.
Hey, is
Gotta
Bobby
get on the
Yoda
toy
here?
group page.
Bobby Two Tits. I don't know.
Hey, starts talking in like the Star Wars equivalent of a like a Jersey accent for real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey,
My
forget
cousin
about
Vinny, my cousin Grogu.
No, I will say though, when he did say Grogu and he looked at Din, that was the most amazing thing. He's like, huh? Oh, that was so killer. I love that. And he got so happy. I mean, like, we always assume the child was more of a child. Now we get this sense that he's like maybe like a 20-year-old. Like he had enough of a conversation with Ahsoka.
50.
Yeah, he's 50.
Yeah.
I guess you're right. But in
This
terms
guy
of
should have 2
intelligence-
mortgages by now.
Yeah. I was blown away by that though. Literally how he had remembered things, and of course the ellipses, because I watched it with audio titles after that, and it said ... dark, and I'm like, that's intentional. That was not...
You don't use the word dark and a Force user without really putting a lot of thought into it.
Oh, yeah.
100%. Yep.
Oh yeah.
Michael, can I throw this out to you real quick? Because a lot of the chatter in the first, 12, 13, 14 hours that we've had this episode, a lot of people are talking about Ahsoka's look, the transition from animation to live action. Kind of be curious about your take. How do you feel that Dave Filoni and crew did bring her on camera? I thought she looked fantastic.
I agree. There's obviously going to be a rough transition when going from animation to live action, but I think they did the best they feasibly could do. Like, I think the only minor complaint is you could say like her little, not Leku. They're not Leku because those are whatever they are.
Technically Leku, but I don't know. Yeah, horn, tentacle.
Yeah, they look a
hair.
little foamish, but
Yeah.
I mean,
What else
that's
do you do?
the closest thing to a complaint I can come up with. It's not a big deal. I mean, it's a pretty common problem for a lot of Star Wars alien costumes. So
Well, but I'll tell you, one of the things that I'm dealing with it through is the fact that I even tweeted about this, is that, you know, what a character looks like in animation and what they look like on screen has been very different. I mean, even you go as simple as Lando and Leia. Of course, they were younger versions, but Vader in Rebels was a different stylization of that character. So now if you think about the Ahsoka we saw today is what she quote unquote looks like that's what she is. Then she's been stylized previously, right? That's kind of a way that she's been put together. So I didn't mind it that much, but yes, I did feel like if those were meant to be like wrinkles or to show age, they looked like creases, like on the way to the Comic-Con, she had it stuffed too tightly into her suitcase or something.
That's so funny.
I guess that's what I thought. I went the way of wrinkles, which I was like, it looked like
aging.
Yeah. Or just realistic things, like when you like when I do my forehead like that. And if you don't want to get a forehead or a forehead close up, don't do that. But you know what I mean. Like your skin does that too. It kind of looks a little like there is a difference, but I guess
if Pete would have not started working out, we might have seen some wrinkles. But the man is tightening the skin.
No, the man is cut.
And so now we're seeing the fact that he's jacked and got veins. I pulled up a photo earlier, but let's take a look at this if we can.
Ooh,
I thought it was going to be in Pete's arms.
Hey, Pete Flexer's busted out here, ladies and gentlemen. Don't you worry. But right now, let's talk about Ahsoka's evolution. And you can see how,
this is great.
if you got if you're talking about the Liku, it changes over time. It changes as the series. So you can clearly see a Clone Wars progression. And then over here on the far right of your screen, you see Star Wars Rebels. And listen, fam, I couldn't fit another one here. I wish I could have gotten the epilogue Ahsoka in here. But honestly, if you look at where they end, it's about chest, a little past, the top of her chest. Mm-hmm. If you bring on this, where do you see they end?
You're right.
So we're really splitting hairs here if we're going to complain about that. And obviously, if you look really close on this image, you can see those wrinkles that you're hearing us talk about. And yeah, just tell yourself it's aging. That's what I did. I mean, I think your first viewing of any show should not be so critical. Like, just go into the story. I was seeing people live tweet. They're like, well, this is wrong and this is wrong. Fam, just let yourself enjoy it. Have fun. Why do you have to make everything like just a bitch fest? Like, it's 2020. Life sucks. You got the freaking Mandalorian going, and Ahsoka Tano is running around with dual lightsabers. Let's go.
Gosh.
So I thought it transitioned really well. Michael, I really enjoyed your take. Thanks for sharing that with us. I really
thank
do appreciate it.
No problem. And I think with also, you could argue that, like, with her aging, I did some quick math mentally while David was talking and I wasn't listening, but
thank you. I appreciate that.
Most of us don't while he's talking.
She should be about 45 in the timeline at this point, if my math is correct. So I think it's a pretty good justification.
I'm 33 and they're starting to show up. So my Leku. You should look at my Leku, man. Don't look at it.
I didn't want to say anything.
I will say.
Would you say they were snipped?
Oh, snap! Yeah, bye, Scotty.
Bye, Scotty.
This is the late show version of streaming Star Wars, so you guys know. I will just say, if I can, this is serious. I'm not talking about my Leku or nothing.
Keep it in your
or shirt. Pete's arms. Hey, man, I'm not the one who's been talking about Pete's guns the whole show. But I've been pretty impressed with how they've been translating characters to live action. There's been very little rehashing of their character. They almost look like there were shots of Bo-Katan with her helmet on and off. Well, mainly with the helmet on, when they're walking, like they walk onto the Gazanti freighter, it looks like I can't tell the difference between that and Clone Wars, like season 7.
Yeah, I was thinking that even shots today, you could tell that Filoni directed this one, because there were angles, there was coloring, there was there was choices of shots that were pure 100% Clone Wars animation. They were not live action television, and it worked really well, I thought. Although some people, there were some people who were saying, well, it looked too much like animation, etc. But so I'm not sure. I love the way they looked, so I thought every shot was great.
Real quick in the live chat, Andy in there doing the math says Rosario is 41, so that's pretty convenient. Andre, wait, Gorgu is it? I thought it was Grugo.
It's
Is it
Grogu.
Grogu.
Go Gru.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Goku.
If you
He is older than a
Steele
Grogu,
was
yeah.
Steele was bragging about at least rhyming his name for Yoda. He calls him Yoju.
Yeah,
Or something.
that was actually
Grogu
one of the first
Yoju.
things I thought. Yeah. that was
Now,
one of the-
did y'all know that was actually leaked a couple months ago? Did y'all see that?
Grogu.
Yeah, on
How
Reddit, right?
crazy is that? A dude on Star Wars r/leaks, okay, on Reddit, literally said 88 days ago, I know the name of the child. My uncle is a stunt coordinator for Disney, right? And he said, Grugo, what is it? No, I already got it.
Grogu. Grogu.
Grogu, okay? And he said Grogu, and the
Grogu
comments were
Gorgu.
destroying,
And
were
potato.
destroying him, right? And
Yeah.
then literally he reshared today. He goes, "All right, what do you think now?" Because like the stigma of my uncle who does this is like so classic.
My
And this
uncle.
dude
Yeah.
was right.
Yeah.
It's wild. It's wild.
I think his uncle's going to be looking for work if he's.
yeah, exactly.
Most likely.
So.
See? Yeah.
Sam Carey
Yeah.
down in the chat says, "What's kind of weird is that Ahsoka is officially 6 feet tall and Rosario is 5'7". Obviously, they can't
Yeah.
control that. I don't know if that's
Is
a
she
detail that
6?
you would have noticed anyways.
Yeah.
You know, that's something you're not going to notice in the action. I thought the moves, especially in battle, were pretty good. Pete, anything else we need? Michael, anything else we need before we let you go?
Yeah,
I think we have another caller on the line.
we
I've
do.
got just one more thing I wanted to add, which
Absolutely.
was it's about Thrawn and the name drop about him.
Oh,
Still every time.
what? I didn't watch. Damn it.
Why'd you tell me about this?
Spoilers! I told you, Dave. I told you.
What's your point, Michael?
So in what we know about Thrawn from the recent novels and whatnot, Thrawn's loyalty to the Empire has seemed very tenuous. He's mostly loyal to the Chiss ascendancy, and the allegiance to the Empire is sort of a matter of convenience in that. But it sounds like, because Ahsoka referred to the governess, is that what her official name
Magistrate.
is?
Magistrate.
Okay, magistrate. Yeah, the magistrate is Thrawn is apparently her master, quote unquote, as Ahsoka phrases it. And given the implication of where this is in the timeline, is Thrawn currently involved with this, like a former Imperial, and is he still involved with the Empire?
Wow.
Because I've done a lot of theorizing in my just off time, and I've often thought that Thrawn would never join something like the First Order, because the First Order is a even worse empire. And so,
Can I drop a theory?
go for it.
Yeah.
What if Moff Gideon? Yeah, he has no. What if Moff Gideon doesn't know about Thrawn? Thrawn doesn't know about Moff Gideon. But what if that's because Moff Gideon is just doing his Dark Trooper thing, thinking that's special? But what if Thrawn, who is arguably as close, depending on which book you read, might be even closer to the Emperor than Vader? What if Thrawn was tasked with laying the foundation for the First Order out in the unknown regions after being ejected into hyperspace with Ezra at the end of Star Wars Rebels? What if Thrawn is actually cooking up the Snoke program?
Wow, that I like that.
Interesting.
Ooh, I like that a lot.
That would be kind of crazy, because weren't there Thrawn clones in the EU with the Hand of Thrawn books or whatever those were?
Pete,
I think you might be right on that. Yeah, I
we think you might be right about that.
Yeah.
I don't want to steal your thunder. I just got really excited because
No,
I've
I
been
love
on
that. No, but I
Valid
think
theory.
I think it's worth mentioning, because I also think, like, first of all, the fact that she used the phrase master, and master is traditionally in Star Wars used for Jedi, Sith, and slaves, and that's it. So where does that fall in? We don't know enough about this magistrate. We don't know anything about the guy who ran the town before her, because when he gets back into power. So
He just
Michael,
got, sorry.
No, please,
I was just
We
gonna
did say this was going to be smooth. So
Yeah, we did. I was just going to say how the fact that he put her clothes back on, like Lando put on Han's vaccine of Empire,
that's pretty funny.
and they had the same chest size. I was really distracted by that. Okay, I'll stop talking. Pete, what were you going to say?
No problem. I was gonna let Michael go and bring in Nick, but Nick has fallen off. So Nick, or whenever somebody jumps in, we'll bring them in. But Michael, you're welcome to hang until we get through to that next.
Sure,
person.
why not?
Real quick, until the next person comes in, I'll say I'm kind of with you, Michael, that I don't think the Thrawn that we know, at least not the Rebels Thrawn, but from the books and everything too, as well as Rebels, he was more working to his own ends for the Chiss ascendancy, right? Ascendancy. It doesn't sound like I'm saying.
It's hard to say.
S's aren't coming out right.
Ascendancy.
The Chiss ascendancy. The Chiss ascendancy. Anyway, what if he's snatching up these people from the old empire that he thought were like good? Because they're like, oh, she's part of the empire. Was she? You know,
we don't know. We have no idea what she was.
She wasn't wearing any imperial regalia.
Yeah,
she did help.
She was really more like
empire.
About, you know, the art and the culture of that planet, but also like torturing people, which is horrifying. What if we have two warring factions? Like we've got Thrawn out in the unknown regions or whatever, trying to gain allies for the Chiss ascendancy, and he's going to try to combat the first. Like he could know about the First Order, like the Final Order. He could know about the Final Order, right? He could have figured it out.
That's very possible because the Chiss are in the unknown regions too.
Yeah.
And I don't imagine the First Order is very happy with them being there.
Right.
We know
Corvus seemed more like it was far away from what we know. Like it was familiar yet not. And so what if we've got, you know, Gideon basically, my theory is Gideon is he's one of the gears that is like trying to like push the First Order through. And then you've got Thrawn over here, who's still, the Chiss ascendancy is not like, they're not good at all. Obviously, no one tortures, but they're out for their own ends. And so you're going to have kind of a warring factions. We got 30 years to work with here. So
yeah.
Yeah.
And they talk about all the horrors the First Order went through. Like you got to think like, I mean, maybe being put up in like a little tube where you can't talk or you'll be shocked. That's pretty horrifying. Yeah. So.
Maybe what we should do to you, Jerry. I don't know.
Damn.
Get rid of those wrinkles.
David. Good job.
Damn.
Shock therapy is very. I did it for 3 years. It was great. It made me normal.
Yeah. Scary picture too.
Monologue over. Please go. Don't shock me.
No problem. Michael, thank you so much for joining us. We're going to bring in our next caller. Michael, we will see you in Squadron.
Michael.
I love let's show everybody your Voodoo Squad shirt. Bring him up. Bring him on.
Yeah.
There it is.
Patches.
All
Are
right.
those patches available?
Available at Teespring.
Pasta. The best pasta.
Black Friday sale. Black Friday sale.
All right, dude. Thank you so much. We'll see you.
Bye, Michael.
Later, Michael.
Adios.
Michael's great.
And now I want to bring in
What a douchebag.
another patron,
Am I still on?
I want to bring on another patron, another close friend of the show, a gentleman named Nick Milkey.
There he is.
What's
going, man?
up, bud?
Unboxing champion of the year. I'll tell you that much.
There you go.
He's drinking too.
Me too. I'm going around two here.
I want a beer now.
Nick, real quick, how are you doing? We're trying to get a gauge on your microphone. How are you doing, sir?
I'm all right. Can you hear me? I've got weird internet tonight.
Oh man, can you turn yourself down a little bit? You're just a little hot, but once you turn down that volume,
Absolutely.
let us know
Absolutely.
what is your take on this episode of The Mandalorian? Because goodness, Ahsoka Tano, she's great. The child has a name, and Thrawn live action. Oh my god, that's just a lot to process.
It is.
It's an incredible amount to process. I don't know. I don't know what everybody has said so far tonight. I just got here a couple minutes ago. We had people at our house. I'm trying to rush them out the door because I want to come talk to y'all. Priorities. I mean, a man's got to have priorities, right?
Gotta talk to my real friends.
I don't know.
Get out of here.
That's right. I don't know what ground you've covered so far. We talked about this afternoon. We did our Podcast of the Wheels recap pod this afternoon, and
Nice.
As we were recording, I was watching the Beyond the Blast Doors feed on mute, and so I couldn't hear what you were talking about there either.
It was
But
great.
At some point, throwing out some wild theories. Where are y'all with who's the Jedi going to be that shows up on Tython? Who is going to be the connection, the contact? You put Baby Yoda in the seeing eye or whatever it was that said, what do we have? I've got crazy theories about, like, we could get a Ewan or a Liam Neeson, either Holocron, or we could get a Force Ghost. And we've de-aged Force Ghost before. They did it with Hayden and Anakin.
They did.
What if we get a young Ewan Force Ghost? What do y'all see there? What spiked for you on that?
I'm under the impression that that she wasn't very clear in terms of what it is. Whenever he reaches out, he'll know. And like, I mean, if it's going the route it's going, it really could be World Between Worlds. Not trying to get anyone's hopes up, but like, or something to that extent. I mean, you know, talking to Yoda through the Force or something. It would be incredible to see a character that looks like Yoda talk to actual Yoda, and it would honestly clear up some discrepancies.
Oh, that would be wild.
That the common, you know, fan has, because everyone, at least my mom, is taken to liking you know, Baby Yoda's new name and everything, but that's going to be the next thing they're going to have to course correct for a lot of people, because that's the genius of this marketing, right? You know, they don't want to give anything away, and if the child can talk to someone of its own kind, might be a whole different story. So that was something my brain immediately went to. I don't know about y'all, but it could be from the past.
So what if we get what if we get Force Ghost Yaddle? Is anybody ready for that?
Oh
No.
It should be like, son.
I'm here for that. I'm here for that.
What trash? Why do people keep thinking that
David
like
said
Yoda
no
and
right off
Yaddle
the
went
bat.
behind the chambers and knocked one off? Like,
No
how
one
does
thinks
theory?
that, but Yaddle is just as important as Yoda.
No.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Her and her
No.
chicken legs.
That's wrong. That's
Well,
incorrect.
yeah, she's not as important, but she matters. She matters.
The
I
Yoda
watch
thing
Yoda.
with
Apparently
that.
not to
Yeah,
Ahsoka,
not as
because Ahsoka
important.
said she'd only seen one more of his kind
Yeah.
and totally dismissed Yaddle. She
Yeah,
was like,
Absolutely.
What
Yeah,
whatever.
it appeared after
Glaring
you in a
omission.
minute.
what if Yaddle,
true.
it is Yaddle that shows up, and you hear Grogu for the first time speak, and he goes, Mama, or something.
And then Din marries her, and they make
Yeah.
a little family.
How about
Happily ever after.
Dad at karate practice Din Djarin? Like, I want that action figure. He's like, come on, you can do
It
it.
has some
You can
sort
do
of
it.
like-
Come on.
Weird Mr. Belvedere vibes. I don't know.
Yeah.
Coleman Tree.
What,
Boy, that's a good one.
So here's another question, and forgive me if it's something else that y'all have gotten to before, but we talk a lot about entries. Pete talks about it a lot on Around the Galaxy. Entries into Star Wars. Everybody's has a
Oh,
We lost him.
oh my gosh.
Well, we have entries and exits from Star Wars. And
Oh
sometimes
no.
And that was a
where his
bluff.
question was going, though. What in terms of, just maybe keep playing off what he said, like, that's a crazy entrance for some fans in terms of the overall galaxy. So,
Yeah.
like, to kind of finish what he was saying, like, how do you think the normies, which is a term Jerry coined, obviously Pete loves bringing it up.
I love
on
it all the
APG,
time.
and how do you
Love
think the normies will react to that? Like, my mom embraced it. I said, that's Ahsoka. I said, that's Anakin's Padawan. And she's like,
Yeah.
oh, that's cool. You know, people
Yeah.
are it's gonna be weird. It's gonna be
Pete.
really weird.
Pete, take that. What do you think?
Yeah, I think what I love about it is, and what worked really well for me in this episode is the lack of knowledge of like Din really is that entry point for the every fan, right? I mean, he Nick's back. Hey Nick. One of the things what was really cool was when she mentions the Force and he's like, oh, his powers, like that also helps. Honestly, that helps the sequel trilogy, because a lot of people are like, how did they not know about the Jedi? It was only 25, 30 years before. Well, you know, it's like, do we know about every ancient culture on this planet from the, you know, we don't, right? So, and time makes things more and more distant. So just the fact that Din, who, you know, as a Mandalorian, didn't even know what the Force is. He knew what the Jedi were, but he didn't know what the Force is. So
I think it's I think it's a really fascinating question, because I talked with Shannon Moran of the network. We got some feedback there, Nick. If you can help take that down. I talked with Shannon Moran about this earlier, just about the fact that she was really not thrilled with the episode. She thought it was too much Ahsoka Tano. She thought it took away from the Mandalorian story. She also thought Thrawn was making it way too inside baseball. So I think it's interesting how someone who, she even says she's not all knowing when it comes to canon. She thought it was a bit of an overwhelming episode as someone who's not as aware of the Star Wars story. So it's interesting to see how people can have these different perspectives. Jerry, real quick, do you want to talk about this as an entry point? Like, I think a normie, as you said, should be like really excited, because there sounds like there's all these adventures that you need to go check out to understand what they're really talking about.
Right. This is something that I've been thinking about, because honestly, I never thought that they would mention Thrawn. And you guys know, I am like the biggest proponent for, yes, everything in canon should matter. Bring it in. If they can do it well, and they can, they've proved that. To me, at least, through all the different things that we've gotten in canon. I mean, Cobb Vanth being in the first episode for corn sakes. I don't know why I went really Arkansas there for a second. Shout out to Michael. But this is something I've been thinking about. I am not worried about. They can bring whoever they want in. They could bring Luke Skywalker in. I don't think they're going to at all. Mm-hmm. But I wouldn't be surprised if he showed up.
It makes a lot of sense.
Well, you could bring. Well, that honestly, people would know who Luke is, but if you bring in Ezra or anyone else, honestly, it is a lot for us. It's like, whoa, all these connections. Yep. For them, they started with the Jedi. All they're doing is building intrigue the whole time. And if you hear Admiral Thrawn, it's like, who's Admiral Thrawn?
Right.
What does he have to do with it?
And this, it's funny you say Ezra. Sorry, David. You may be even going here, David. But when you say Ezra, I want to see. My hope is that it's Ezra and that she followed. Ahsoka ends up following Din, and she reconnects with Ezra, and that's the connection. However, the only people who would care about that are those of the 18 people watching us in the chat and the 2,500 people on Twitter that talk about it every day. So there's two avenues here, and we talked a little bit in our. We should catalog our crazy text messaging among the network this afternoon, because there were theories and fun and action
for patrons.
But we should. One of the things that was really interesting to me was the conversation about, do we want to see a new character or do we want to see an existing character? And it's my theory that Star Wars is all about connections, and we all say that we don't want to see the same old characters, but we kind of do. And I think, again, keeping in mind that Star Wars needs to appeal to the other 95% of the audience, it almost has to be somebody that we've seen before, unless, and this is where I hope I'm not muddying the waters here too much, if the Mandalorian right now seems to be playing the role of, I think, David, you said it this afternoon, playing sort of the Iron Man of the Marvel series, right? It's starting to introduce these things. I don't want it to get lost in itself. So a new character, a new Jedi that shows up out of nowhere takes the Mandalorian into the next level. If it's somebody we know, it sort of keeps us grounded. So there's nothing wrong with either one, but it's two completely different directions as for the plan of the series and of the Star Wars Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yeah,
I think that's interesting that you say that. It's a coin flip for me, because, like we've said, Luke Skywalker is that recognizability with the casual fan, and that draws up excitement. Not every person that follows Star Wars knows about Ahsoka Tano, but let's be honest, the last 40 years, Luke Skywalker, Mark Hamill, you know what that character is, you know what the character looks like, you know what that character is about. So that can be a really great way, especially to expand the audience. I think we've already had 32 million people subscribe to Disney Plus. Yeah. We're trying to get to 104 million people by 2025. Bob Iger's I'm out of here real soon, so let's hit these quotas. I think it would make a lot of sense for Luke. I don't know if it's de-aged Mark. I highly doubt it. Is it a Sebastian Stan? That's interesting. Is it someone else? Fine. But Ezra, I just don't buy, frankly, because I really do believe that's why Ahsoka needs Thrawn. That's my assumption. And they're still looking for Ezra at the end of this series. I don't know. How Thrawn could be back and Ezra is not, I think that gives a lot of credibility to the theory that it is Ezra. If one is back, so does the other. I'm hoping for Mace Windu. I don't know. Nick, do you have a take? Who do you want that Jedi to be?
Of course, the Olympic level internet trolling that Raul Corey has done recently to play Ezra Bridger. I'm totally on board for that. The things that he has done on Twitter are fantastic. So I would love for it to be Ezra. I love that we keep kind of inching towards a full live action Rebels finale or continuation or whatever that is. Sebastian Stan as a young Luke, I'm totally down for that too. I don't feel like we lose. And I think there's also the question, and we asked this afternoon too, that Pete asked and that you guys asked in your chat about would it be a known quantity because Star Wars is about connections, or would it be somebody else that we don't know, somebody else who's force sensitive that shows up? I don't think we lose because you expand the story if it's somebody we don't know. If it is somebody we don't know, it's another fun, holy crap, can you believe we got this thing too? It just, we have an abundance of riches right now, and it's hard to be super critical, super negative, super looking at, what about this is going to be bad?
Scotty has his hand raised.
I think, we're excited to see what's to come, but I think I'm the most excited for the drop. And I don't have my reaction queued up. I have an audio of it on my computer that I would show y'all at some point, maybe during the stream. Sure. But when Ahsoka said, well, he was there during, Coruscant, he was in the temple of Coruscant, and someone took him away. I think the most exciting part of the whole episode was the fact that he was there on the temple, right?
Yeah.
But who the hell was the one that took him away? Because
and hit him for 50 years. Yeah.
Exactly.
Trained with many masters.
That to me, and you got to realize this. He went from the temple somewhere for 50 years, and then he's found in this weird pirate outpost. I'm most excited for that. Probably more than the Thrawn maybe top it. But that within itself, because the show has become one part, and I agree with Shannon, should be more about the Mandalorian, but it also has become one part about the child, right? And we have now, obviously, if someone said who had to go, Mandalorian or the child, everyone would say the Mandalorian, because they want the continuation of the child's story, right? I think I'm most excited for that reveal more than anything else. And it could be a new character, and I'd be freaking out. It could be Jet Lucas when he was that kid in Revenge of the Sith. It could be crazy, but I don't know. I didn't mean to steal what you were saying, Nick, but that is something I'm just I don't know. I'm really looking forward to seeing where that part goes. That's going to be weird.
Real quick, I want to shout out Bubba's Toy Box in the live chat. Looks like he just subscribed to be on the Blast Doors, and he hit the bell, so that way he'll be
Welcome,
the first to know.
Hey.
He'll be the first to know when we go live or we drop videos talking about Star Wars shenanigans. So welcome to our Star Wars conversation. So glad you're with us tonight. I think that for that reason alone, I like my Mace theory even more, because
what's your Mace theory?
The Mace theory. Okay, wait, I can't. Let me rewind back. I almost pulled like a Carlos Mencia and took someone else's bit. Let me try that again. I think Andy from Hollow Chronicles, his theory on Mace Windu
reference
is on, because he knows early on that Anakin is not going to pan out for the Jedi Order. He senses the darkness in Anakin Skywalker, going back to the Phantom Menace. What if Grogu is the plan B, and he doesn't actually tell the Council about it? What if this is Mace's secret from the rest of the Jedi? That he also senses how the politics have clouded the vision of the Jedi. He doesn't quite accept Yoda bending so much because, for Anakin, because, Obi-Wan is so good and he's on the council too. So Mace even is playing politics in his own way. And this is the plan B. What if he gets blown out that window by Palpatine? He actually is able to survive the fall, and he hightails it back to the temple. What if he actually finds Kenobi? They make the plan that he will end up taking the kids, and he'll go and take the child. And I don't know. Now I've taken his theory and I'm trying to run with it. But listen, let's bring Mace back. Mace lives. I want the shirts. I want the social media campaign. Hashtag make Mace happen.
Start it.
I just want the audio drop back on the Hollow Chronicles podcast that says Mace lives. That's what we're waiting on.
There you go.
That's what we need. Holy cow. God, I got
you
sweaty
to
on
talk
that.
to just talk to Star Wars Theory about it, right? Right, there you go.
Had a great, that's right, because Star Wars Theory actually did a fan film where at the end of it, he has the purple blade glow there. It's pretty badass if you haven't watched that. But
it is.
What if it? Let's take that theory a little bit sideways. And,
Yes.
And what if it was Sifo Dyas? Maybe when he was looking for a clone, he pulled that kid out.
I love that. And you know how much I love Sifo Dyas. Does anybody want to jump on this? Does anybody want to jump on this?
Well, but if Ahsoka knows him, that would be before Ahsoka. I guess Ahsoka.
All she knew was from reading Grogu's mind that he was in the temple,
there.
and he was saved, and then went dark.
She
for
would know
40 years.
him, honestly. I mean, how do you not? If you've met this once, you
One
know
thing
who
too,
this is.
I don't know. I believe it was canonically said. Now, someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but Grogu's 50, and so is Anakin. In terms of if Anakin had not died, so like I don't know. It not to say it's a dyad or anything like that, but if they do Jedi Temple training by ages, then Anakin and Grogu might have had a couple classes together, right?
Yeah.
Or whatever we know about the species, right? I mean, think about it. We could get some amazing, backstory stuff. I'm honestly, I never thought I'd be more excited for a backstory in my entire life. I've never been one to know what's Snoke about. That's never really got me off. But like now, when they were like, I'm sorry, it's a poor choice of words.
No, it's fine.
It's the late late show. It's
It
the
was
late late
cute.
show. You're good.
So,
Cheers.
I don't know. I'm seriously, y'all. That just to divulge on that, like that one thing was probably one of the greatest things from this episode. I mean, last week we got M count, right? Like what the heck,
Right.
M count, and then we got whatever that was in the tube. Every episode somehow has gotten just like, let's take it one step bigger. Let's take it, and this one was like,
This is like 10 steps bigger.
it was insane.
Well, and just that little 5-minute segment of learning, not even 5 minutes, it was like probably 90 seconds of the episode, has created so much intrigue. And that's why I said at the top of the show, the Mandalorian went from, it's really interesting too, and I'll throw this out there, because when we started, we thought it was going to be just this crazy bounty hunter show. By the end of the second episode, it was, this is a family father-son story. This is interesting to see how somebody's impacted.
Yeah.
By the time we got to the end of the series, the end of the first season, we said, oh crap, there's some sort of connection to Clone Wars, because there's the Darksaber. And now every single episode so far this season has been connect.
Deeper.
Yeah.
And we have we've taken off. And it's really interesting. However, I will say this. One of my concerns, and this goes back to the Iron Man comment that David made earlier, every one of these episodes, and this is I don't want to be this is not said as a Debbie Downer at all, but every one of these episodes has left me with like, my God, that was amazing. It was better than I expected. I never thought I would see this on live action. But they also left me with a little bit of a nagging feeling of it's like, are we losing the Mando story? Are we losing Din? Where's this going to go? And it feels a little bit like, what's the words I'm looking for? It's starting to pull me. Like the show has evolved so rapidly. Like this is something that happens in season 5 of the series, right? That it's become bigger than just our two characters. This is like, it's taken off. So,
well, Scotty, can you respond to that real quick?
I think it's going to come back down. Yeah, I was going to say, you have to think about it this way too, Pete. What we have now, and if I can predict the rest of the season, I'll try my best to. Next episode is not going to be them on that planet. Okay, he's going to get intercepted by Gideon. Something's going to happen that we don't expect in that way.
Yep.
I was terrified that it was going to end, with him going back to the Razor Crest and the child's gone. Right, I was dreading that going into it. But kind of to go back, I have a feeling what's going to end up happening in terms of stories, and it get really kind of odd. I think it's going to go back to Din being like the moral compass for the child, right? Because the child, I mean, it's very obvious. The child is stubborn, which I didn't expect. Like he did not listen to Ahsoka, which is going to be such a cool development that he was like, not doing that. And then, Din does it with the silver color knob. How great is that? Nice little throw in there. So I was like, I'm just smitten with the fact that, we went in going, oh, this is how the show's going to go. And everything following it, y'all, has just been like tremendously different.
So go ahead, Dave. No, Dave, I've been talking too much.
No, listen, we're just here we're drinking, we're having a great time.
It's a Friday night drink-a-thon.
Right before the show, I'm like, guys, you want to smoke a J? I don't condone that. I'm a professional.
It's
never
legal in
touched marijuana in my
Jersey
life.
now, so it's legal.
It's not in Iowa. That's why I've never done it.
What did Clinton say? I didn't inhale. That's
It wasn't me. Hey, what I love about this, there's so many. This is why I hope that there's no time limit to the stream tonight, because I think everyone's having a really good time. people in the live chat right now freaking the F out. They think Qui-Gon Jinn is
What?
somehow going to reveal himself in The Mandalorian. I think it's a great point, Pete, that you bring up. And it's something, I think about this a lot because especially I mentioned my conversation with Shannon. Is the story being taken away from The Mandalorian? And to my point, and we have a video of this on our channel right now, would love for you to check it out after the stream. Want you to take a look at that because we spend this time on BTBD Live talking about launching an MCU like thing for Star Wars on Disney Plus, a Star Wars streaming universe. So not the MCU. Okay, so it'd be the SSU, and that would work.
Yeah.
And this is the backdrop to that. You can watch the entire first season of The Mandalorian, and even times there, you're thinking to yourself, man, there feels like there's something bigger. And the first season, they didn't tell us anything. They just gave us the child, and it was amazing. And season 2, the strategy is completely different. Someone is letting details leak. And we're getting a Bo-Katan and a Boba Fett, and we're getting an Ahsoka Tano, and we're getting a Thrawn reference. It is the Iron Man, like Pete mentioned earlier, and I don't have a problem with this being the Iron Man for Star Wars streaming universe because this is where you get the buy-in, and they want to see how we as fans react to some of these decisions they make. Listen, the story is going to be the story they tell,
right?
But listen, why do they not promote The Mandalorian as much as other things? Because you have people on YouTube for hours upon hours talking about this thing, and we do the advertising for them. And so my thing is this. We've built to a peak. I think, Scotty, you're right on the money. We're going to dial it down. I don't think we even get to the Jedi Temple until the very last episode, like in the last 5 minets. Yeah. I think we're going to play with the Dark Troopers and Moff Gideon. And I think you're right. We gotta somehow, as Din Djarin, I've got to find a way to get the child to almost disconnect with me because this relationship has kept this child from going with its own kind, which was the mission. That's what he was charged with by the armorer.
Yeah.
Go find the Jedi, get the child to his own kind, get this thing trained. And now Din Djarin is literally up Schitt's Creek without a paddle because there is no plan now other than going to this Jedi temple. I freaking love it. I think they hit a home run.
And I think that's what's wild about this show is it started so small.
And
one of the things that I've thought about since episode number 1 is the show is called The Mandalorian. And it's about this Mandalorian, but it's got, what if it's actually, so what somebody once said, Dave Filoni has never done a show that's actually about what it's called, right?
No.
But there is always something bigger that ties back to the name. So Rebels, I stand by the fact that Rebels was a Jedi story that happened to take place just before the rebellion, just before the Rogue One, right? This, with introducing Bo-Katan, with throwing the Darksaber in at the very end of the first season, you're bringing all the Mandalorian lore in. This could be a much larger story about the Mandalorian, and it could be the story of how Din becomes the ruler of Mandalore, right? How he takes that mantle. And there's so many different steps that need to, I mean, if he came as a child of the Watch and a bounty hunter to come to lead Mandalore, he's got a big journey ahead of him, and doing so with a connection to all the key players is really an important piece.
I love that. I freaking love that. Jerry, welcome back. And
Thanks.
the question is, are we concerned that the Mandalorian is being taken away from the Mandalorian with these cameo characters? Scotty just said that we're at a high, and now we're coming back to just the Mandalorian and Grogu. Pete, elaborate on that. Where do you stand?
I don't really think so, because I think that Din is finding his place in the larger story, which is, I said something in our chat, like similar in our chat today, how Star Wars is, we want all these smaller stories and we can still get them. We get them in books and things like that. But I mean, we're not even really touching the main story. We're touching like side stories with Clone Wars and such, right? Like a lot of people wouldn't even consider that like G canon or whatever, like whatever stuff you want to use. But I think that we are. I think we're getting. Gosh, what word am I trying to say here?
I don't know.
I
have absolutely no idea.
I just was like trying to figure out exactly what was going on, so I'm just coming back to you guys like, woo! Like, okay, good, back on.
We're all sweaty, Jerry. It's okay. Take your time. I'm lactating right now. I can't wait to hear what you have to say.
Oh gosh. Well, I don't think so, because at the heart of this, when you look at a Star Wars story, we tend to focus on the bells and whistles, which are in every one of them. But the true focus is the heart of the story. And the heart of this story, like we were talking about earlier, is a father and son, or a new father story, right? It is the story of Din, who was like a bounty hunter, the scum of the universe, right? Like, not to go Men in Black, but you know what I mean? Like, people talk about bounty hunters, like, we don't need their scum. What is it? Piet says that. And you have him basically like realizing what's always been inside him, that he has a conscience and he's not going to let this kid like die or give him away. Like, he has morals. He has a moral center, right?
Well, it sounds like...
Oh, great, Andy's here.
It sounds like we have a new caller, so we'll bring on Andy.
Is the caller there?
Hey guys, first time, long time.
Oh, gee.
No, I wanted to say two things here in the heart of this part of our discussion. First is that Din is already pushing to be the greatest father figure in Star Wars.
Yeah, hell yeah.
And he's already top 3. But secondly is that for those that feel like the story might be getting away from the Mandalorian right now, I posted this in the chat, but if you look at, there are a lot of great stories historically that are just as much about other characters as it is about the main protagonist. Like, for example, The Hobbit is about Bilbo Baggins, the Hobbit, but the story, The Hobbit, is just as much about Thorin Oakenshield and his path to redemption and reclaiming what was taken from him. So I don't feel like the story's getting away from the Mandalorian. There can be multiple things that are true at once. Right. The story is about him, but it's just as much about Grogu as it is about him, as well as what's happening on with Grief and Kara, and what's happening with Bo-Katan. Like, all of these things are happening around him, and he's traversing it, with and without them at different times. So it's okay. And we made this point earlier too. You can't have an episode with Ahsoka and have her just standing on the side. Right. It's gotta be about her as much. And I feel like it was. This episode was about Ahsoka and about Grogu. It had very little to do with the Mandalorian. He was a spectator, like we were spectators in this episode, and he was learning as we were learning about everything else that was going on with those two characters. So,
and Andy, that's a great thing. That's what's so great about this show that I think people may or may not even recognize is, and I said it before, that he doesn't know what the Force is. So if you've never watched a Star Wars, you're learning that through him, and you're also he's the protagonist. He's helping us learn about the universe. And for those of us that do know, it's great to see him grow into the things that are known. So I think that's a great point, Andy. I'm glad I'm glad you brought it on the show.
One thing I want to bring up in terms of thematic storytelling too, you got to think about it this way. I mean, if you watch the gallery, they made it very clear this is going to be a very interesting play on the hero's journey. Now, whose hero's journey is this, right? Is this Din's hero's journey? Is this Grugo's hero's journey? Like, what? It's going to be really interesting to see how it all plays out, right? And to kind of like bring George into this real quick, just because I was thinking about it, how incredible was it that we finally got the freaking Western standoff that they had been teasing in the show for 13 episodes, right? We never truly had the hand on the waist thing.
Right. Complete with the spinning gun after he shoots. Yeah.
Dude, you think about this. On the other side of the literal doorway, you've got samurai. It's the combination of Star Wars
Cowboy versus samurais.
Yo, that was literally one of the most sick things in Star. Like you had the Kill Bill styled like smooth fighting, and then over there you had legit the Western standoff. Who says the bigger words? You know, and Michael Bain drops the gun and tries to go for his back. Doom, doom, and it's like
so true, so good,
perfect. You know, people have complained so much about the sequel trilogy. Now, I'm not one of these, that it doesn't follow George's standards. Well, I think you should stop talking, because if you watch The Mandalorian, we've got something that legitimately 100% in every way has now followed that George Lucas Star Wars, right? I don't understand the ignorance when it comes to this episode, or anyone thinking they know what they're talking about when they say, oh, they did this thing wrong, because I obviously don't. We didn't watch the same show. If you didn't like what you saw yesterday, I respect the fact that you didn't like it, but at the same exact time, it's almost ignorant to say that they didn't care, they didn't pay attention. Because you take what you watch. I'm a little buzzed. You take what you watch, and you gotta realize this. I just think everything from yesterday was absolutely the most spectacular Star Wars it's been. Seriously, it had everything you wanted. Force even had a lightsaber in it. Okay, you got, and I mean, did we know this? Beskar and lightsabers can clash with no problems. Like what? How amazing was that? Okay, I'm sorry.
Wild.
The opinions of Scotty J-Ro do not reflect those of the Beyond the Blast Doors network.
Screw it! I
think they might.
I'm joking. I'm joking.
I love the sound effect of the lightsaber on the
Beskar. Those are perfect.
Hey, now that we have Andy here real quick, guys, is it okay, man? Can we have Andy break down the Mace Windu theory? Can we do that? Can we do that, or should that wait? Should we wait?
Hey, man, your network, whatever.
It's not. I feel like we have him. Or we can talk about who the hell owned that Beskar staff before the Mandalorian. That thing. All right, so we'll go there.
HK-87 droid.
You know, Pete, you were a total dick to me just now, so you go. Who do you think owns that spear made out of Beskar? Where the hell did that come from?
I think it came from Thrawn. I think Thrawn probably collected it as part of his art collection and artifact collection and taught her how to use it. See, that's the whole thing. Like, I forgot. I was talking to somebody, because that's what we do after these episodes. I was talking to somebody, and somebody reminded me that Thrawn not only is a collector of art and a strategist, he also, we've seen that he's learned some of the fighting tactics. So that's where the master thing comes with the magistrate, I think. So that's where that connection, I think, might come in. But yeah, I think he gifted that to her, if he is her master.
Well, like when he in Rebels, he took Hera's that little cultural toy. It wasn't a toy, but
it was the
totem.
Yeah. So I mean, he takes these things to learn about the people and the culture and the heritage of those he intends to rule.
Yep.
And so it would make perfect sense, Pete, for this to have come from Thrawn, because the Mandalorians are a known people that he would have to contest with, especially if Mandalore is in a place where he expects to rule. So that makes perfect sense. And then the magistrate who he gave it to, or governess, whatever she was called,
magistrate,
she was definitely capable with the staff. So so maybe they even trained together. I mean, who knows? But the line of ownership seems very plausible that came from Thrawn as a, hey, thanks for hooking me up with the new fleet that I'm about to lay waste to the Outer Rims with, and then hand off to cloned Snoke. So,
well, we've seen Thrawn practice. Like, Thrawn himself is physically capable. We've seen him train in Rebels, which I thought was really cool. And so, why not have, I don't know, a Lars Mikkelsen appear as a Thrawn on live action Star Wars? And
I'm down for that.
Wield the spear. What do you guys think of that casting?
I like Lars Mikkelsen. I was listening to you guys earlier, and I knew you were trying to say not the Fassbender or whatever, or not Fassbender.
Cumberbatch.
Ugh,
no,
I saw a lot of people saying Cumberbatch or whatever.
Yeah, I can roll with that.
I like Cumberbatch as it, but if you're going to go, it depends on who you get, because Lars Mikkelsen, he's done more than just voice acting, right? I just say that because I don't realize anything I've seen him in besides.
I don't currently have his
Rebels.
IMDb. Obviously, his brother was in
I can
Rogue
pull it up,
One, and
but-
that was great.
His
If you
brother
want to do
was so
that,
great.
you have time, because I want to shout out All Remaining Systems. He says, Pete just blew my mind. Joe Silva saying, this is really good, Pete. Who else do we have? We have someone, Apprentice Ewok, 3 in a row. Exactly what I was thinking, Pete. So a lot of love for his words. Sam Carey comes on. He says, so down for Lars Mikkelsen to return. And that sends a really
if you want to be
weird
authentic, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's like Bo-Katan. It's like Katie Sackhoff, right?
Well,
So-
it's sort of like that.
Right.
I'm gonna push back ever so gently.
We're going to church.
In that I stated earlier today that I would rank vocal characteristics and personality over physical ability, because when you think of Thrawn, you think of his very smooth and his voice is very recognizable. I will say that. Yeah. And yet in Rebels, he is also a very physical. You don't ever know it until it's too late. But he's a very physically talented person as well. So if you're going to just have the voice and the strategist and the Moff version of Thrawn, then Mikkelsen all day, every day, book it, right? If you're going to have him be physical, I know there's stunt doubles and everything that you can throw in there, but I think it'd be better to have Fassbender, a guy like that who can be physical, who has some ability athletically. This is why Ahsoka works so well, or Rosario worked so well as Ahsoka, because she's athletic. She doesn't need a stunt double for everything that was required of her. And you could see her face in a lot of the things that she was doing. So it kind of depends. That's my gentle pushback. Is if you want the strategist and the very, put together, calm demeanor, kind of doesn't do a whole lot except is just a wicked, mind, then go ahead and get Mikkelsen. If you want somebody physically capable to be in a fight, get Fassbender.
Andre, good pull. Sorry, just about that comment there that you pulled up, Dave.
I think it was Pete, but yeah, he says maybe the
Pete,
spear
yeah.
used to be. I don't want to take credit for this. Andre says maybe the spear was used to be Rook's Thrawn's bodyguard from Rebels and Legends. That would be a sweet. That would be a great little.
He
nod.
did have
had the
something
spear.
like that in Rebels.
Yep.
I'm down with that, Andy. I want to put Cumberbatch in there because I'm a Cumber bitch.
He was the bad guy in Star Trek already. We can't do that. That
But
gets
go
messy.
back to Star Trek. Go back to that fight between him and Spock on top of that.
That was
ship
true.
there.
It was good. It was good.
He's physical.
But how
go
long
back
ago
to,
was that?
Doctor Strange, even,
Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
okay, but
he's not.
Fassbender's been the bad guy of X-Men. Like, I don't know. That's like another big Titan franchise.
No. You're getting him mixed up. It is simple because they're two very handsome Englishmen.
Yeah.
Fassbender and Cumberbatch. I keep wanting to say Cumberbitch. I'm sorry. Cumberbatch. They are both. They're almost interchangeable. But you're thinking, I think, because Michael Fassbender was Magneto.
Steve Jobs.
Yeah, wasn't
The
that
best Magneto since the first Magneto we got.
right? Isn't that the bad guy?
The best
I
Steve
I don't want
Jobs
to
since.
Yeah.
Steve
Since
Jobs.
Ashton Kutcher.
The best Steve Jobs. Yeah.
No, look, okay, now I don't know about any of y'all in here. I know Pete and I. Now I just know this because Pete and I've talked about
Oh,
it.
okay, you got Pete
We're-
on your side. Okay.
We're Thrawn,
I'm with you, Scotty.
Like I read the original Thrawn trilogies, and I know Pete and I have read the newest Thrawn books, and I haven't had a chance to read the newest book. But in terms of like just this character alone, there's like a huge fascination, right? And to bring him back in Rebels is one thing, but to like, I had a friend of mine text me, an old roommate in college. He was like, okay, tell me more about Thrawn. And I gave him the lowdown. He's like, that sounds really cool. And you know, Thrawn's not a Force user, but he's really forward thinking with all of his moves and stuff.
Right.
And I don't know. That's a character that really could have insane potential to not show up in the Mandalorian, but to be bigger somewhere else too, right?
Well, like
And-
in another Rebels season.
Sure, right? I mean, that's been rumored for a while now. That's been rumored, and now more than ever, I'm convinced it's going to happen because and also, look, I don't know. I'm sure y'all have all seen it, the reaction video, and I recorded a reaction of when they said Thrawn last night. I have it on my phone. I could play the audio. Did y'all? I happened to send a network message. There's some profanity, but for anyone that's in the chat
It's
that
the
wants to
Late
hear,
Late Show.
would you
It's
mind
the
if I
Late Late
played
Show.
it? Just
Do
real
it.
quick.
Go for
All
it.
right.
Put
So-
it up to the microphone.
I will. So the last thing I was expecting was that name drop. Soka,
Yeah.
I kind of knew that was coming.
Me
right?
too,
Yeah.
Scotty.
Yeah.
Me too. When you messaged
Like-
me shirtless at 4 a.m.
Yes.
Me, I was shirtless. You weren't.
He might have been.
This is my reaction. Okay, so I have it. I had a GoPro in the back of the living room, and I just propped it up for a second, and hopefully, this audio will convey how I felt about it. It gets a little profane, so I hope everyone enjoys it.
Where is Grand Admiral Thrawn?
Scotty,
And of
did your Apple Watch think you were having a heart attack?
Yeah, it was like he is now dead. No, y'all, that name drop because I was like,
I've got a
"Where is
mute.
your master?" Moff Gideon. I've been like, "Ah, cool." Or like, "Where's your master?" You know, Darth Sidious or something. I'd be like, "That's great, right?" But like, just a name that no one was expecting, and especially me, it's like that's a dream come true. I listened to Heir of the Empire before Rebels even aired, and I was blown away by that book. What a great character. And now the potential of seeing him in live action was just so, I mean, y'all, that's huge.
I think it should be
That's
Mark
a
Thompson.
huge character. And like, I had a friend of mine come up with a theory. He said,
With
what
the
if they
beard.
do,
With the
right,
beard.
what if they do the Heir to the Empire story using Ahsoka, Sabine, and
With the
Ezra, right?
With the Empire
Like,
clones.
Yes, or like something crazy.
Well, but if you look, that's an amazing idea. What
I know.
if you take that whole Heir to the Empire series, which had
yes,
Palpatine clones and the whole thing, and
Mhm.
with Thrawn. Oh my
Yep.
God, yeah, you're in.
and then
Okay.
think about it.
Mara
Think about it.
Jade.
It
Do
would
you guys
be the
remember-
spiritual sequel trilogy that people have been crying about? So, sorry.
But I mean, Scotty, to your point though, do you remember when they said fans were so upset because they thought the Thrawn trilogy just made perfect sense to be the sequel
Yeah.
trilogy, and they were
Yep.
so upset when the EU became the EU, and well, they became legends, and so they weren't like real anymore. What a
Mhm.
great way to bring that all in, and what if that is the Star Wars streaming universe? It is
Exactly.
playing in that sandbox, dude. That's insane.
Like, think about it. That could
I would be
totally
okay with
happen.
that.
That could totally happen. And then you got to think Mara Jade, not impossible. That can be thrown in there. Mara Jade and Ezra, love interest. Think about that. Oh, that's
Ooh.
No.
That's somebody
guys.
doing Mads Mikkelsen.
Oh yeah, that's good.
Sam Mads Mikkelsen?
That would be Lars.
Lars. Not,
That's
not
Lars.
Mads.
Yeah.
Wrong one. Right.
I
Mads
think
was,
his name was Lars.
Hellion was still alive too. I mean, that's what they said in Rebels. He literally name dropped Captain Pelion, which if you've read the Heir to the Empire, he was a huge role in that.
Yeah.
So, and we can also see the southern drawl of
Eli Vanto.
Eli
Vanto.
Vanto.
Space Georgia.
So, another way this works. Another way this
Sorry.
works is if instead of a Mara Jade, we get Kira to play the Mara Jade role.
Oh, wow.
my God, that's ridiculous.
Totally ridiculous.
Because then it would tie
Andy.
it on. Oh, we're
Because
just
Maul may have trained her in the ways of the Force, and
I'm
instead of
done.
the Emperor's hand, she was Maul's hand. Oh,
I mean,
We
I'm
just
like
wrote
that.
it.
I'm that gift. Like, how dare you say something so controversial yet brave? Like, come on. man.
Andy, keep going with the thought. I think you have something more.
well, so it seemed to set up at the end of Solo that Kira is advancing. She is trying to elevate her station through Maul. That
Yeah, a force user.
that eventually, if we were to take extended universe into consideration, which we're not supposed to now, but we're pulling Thrawn from extended universe, and why can't we do this too? But she became the hand of Palpatine, and Mara Jade was Force user, and she also had a thing with Luke Skywalker too, and they eventually had a kid. How
much did that piss off Han Solo?
Yeah, so they both made out with her. So that's weird, right?
Time? At the
Not
same
time, but in the same. Anyway, I'm detracting.
Let's
But
get it on.
that would be kind of cool, to continue Kira's story, and this was a way to do it. Now, my question to you is a question that came up this morning, and David already kind of answered it, but I am curious to hear the other three of you guys now.
Who would not want to make out with this? Ugh.
Do you think Filoni likes doing the live action now more than he likes doing the animated? And I'm gonna step out.
Bye, Andy.
Come on, Andy. Oh, talk about dropping the mic.
Finger, right? I mean, Andy, I think Dave, I mean, honestly, I was watching with some guys that studied film at a very well-known university here, and they're like, Dave just does his things differently. I don't know if I like it. And I'm like, yeah, Dave's episodes always look and feel different than most of them, right? But in my humble opinion, I think Dave's got the best grasp on Star Wars at this point. And
yeah,
I don't know. I'm very curious because Dave could stop the animation. He could be overseeing it. I mean, you got to realize this. If you watch Clone Wars, Dave didn't direct that many episodes. Right. He produced all of them. He executive produced all of them, and he probably wrote a handful of them. But I guess when I say majority of them, but like if you look at the Siege of Mandalore arc, I think Dave directed one of those, and it was all different directors in the seat, right? I don't know. We'll see. It could really be interesting where this goes.
Well,
Pete, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I hope one of the things that Dave learned from George was that you can tell a great story, but you don't have to direct it. You don't even have to write it. You just need to be able to tell that story. And Dave has a great grasp on this universe. He's got the best grasp of anybody. Maybe, dare I say, in a way, almost better than George because he's modernized it. He's brought that story. He's expanded it. So, he doesn't. And that's one of the things I find very funny. When you read some of the commentary on the Twitters about, give Dave Filoni a movie. Maybe not. Make Dave Filoni the head of Lucasfilm. That might not be what he does well.
No.
Yeah, but he knows the story. give him the free reign to write the Star Wars MCU.
Oh yeah. Like you remember that I watched the gallery clip yesterday where Dave talks for 10 minutes straight about the Phantom Menace affecting Return of the Jedi. Do you remember that clip? How insane that was, where he talked literally, and all these huge creators, Taika, Famuyiwa, Bryce Dallas Howard, even Favreau, who doesn't stop talking, we're all so drawn in. Because you gotta think, now, no hate on them, but I'd imagine a lot of them bashed the prequels when they came out, just because it wasn't that Star Wars for them. And you got to realize, and Favreau, I think, has publicly bashed the prequels. So, you really got to think about this. Filoni has drawn all those creators in, right? And he made it okay to understand that these connections need to happen, okay? That's why Bo-Katan was in Bryce Dallas Howard's episode. It was perfect for Bryce Dallas Howard. That's such a great character to bring in. Now we've got Ahsoka and Dave's episode, obviously, and who's to say we won't get other crazy stuff in the next couple of episodes? We could, and like this show has proven, guys, this show has taken it to the next level with each consecutive episode. Yeah. I'm going in every episode blinded by the entire thing that came before the last, right? You saw the Snoke, whatever the heck in the chamber, whatever that little tank, and you're like, what? Right? And then before that, you got Bo-Katan. What?
I guess my biggest concern is how do you maintain this intensity, right? Because it started with Boba freaking Fett.
Yes.
Right? That's how this, and that was a month ago. Guys, this has only been a month. This has only been 3 hours worth of content.
Gosh. Yep.
Right? And then we got you get Bo-Katan, you get Ahsoka. Where else can it go? And the problem is the next couple episodes, we only have 3 left for this season. So what are we going to get? What's it going to connect to? And is it going to go further into this father-son relationship, or is it going to go further into this Mandalorian challenge? Is it going to be Bo-Katan coming back to get the sword, or is it going to be those Dark Troopers? Or is it going to be Boba Fett and Fennec Shand showing up somewhere? I mean, that's still a possibility, right?
That was left completely open, Pete.
There's so many threads.
There is
so many threads.
And I don't know. Fami Yuak, I don't know if you know, is doing the next episode. He's writing and directing the next episode.
Yep.
And the episode he did last season was the second one where they introduced the Force, and then they did the sixth one where they were on the prison thing. So he has a really good understanding of how to tell stories without any dialogue. And then he has got a great episode that was a classic heist kind of movie or episode. So I like this, like I'm saying, next episode could be literally just the next insanity, right? You wake up and watch it, you're like, that's better than
it could be those three characters breaking out of that prison ship and coming to find the Mandalorian. And I'd be okay with it, frankly. I mean, after that last episode, I think there might be a lot of pissed off people. But they're already pissed off, so yeah, it's okay.
I am thrilled that in 2020, a year where it's kind of like robbed all of us of whatever X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
But the fact that we can unselfishly go ad nauseum about this show is like really satisfying.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys caught it, but Steele Saunders did a show the other night, and he was saying how like he started to like stream like as much as he can just to maintain sanity. And I get tired of a few things, I think, because we stream, we're just in the weeds of like the Star Wars Twitter community. And like, I'm so tired of hearing like how toxic the fandom is. Cause like, yeah, there's like crappy people and there's crappy people in every realm. But like, I've had so much fun witnessing today and really this whole season of just people happy and sharing about how this story impacts them and how art impacts them and how art can impact you positively. It can also hit you negatively. Like, yeah, we're not going to ignore it. Like there's some controversy with certain characters and certain actors in Star Wars, but you know what? Especially now, I'm just going to ignore that crap. And I mean, if that makes me a bad person, like I apologize. But you know what though? I like Tiger Woods playing golf. Golf is better with Tiger Woods playing golf. And I'm choosing. I've made the decision. Like I don't care about his personal life because you know what? That man's life is his life. But he is a damn good golfer, and that's why he's a public figure. And it's the same thing. It's just like this show is literally that escapism that I've been craving as a Star Wars fan for a really long time. And there's a really cool conversation happening right now in the live chat about how fans who have been raised on the George Lucas Star Wars and have transitioned over into the Disney era. Is it a little bit different of storytelling? Yes. Are we trying to go back to what inspired George Lucas? Yes. And that's why I think that a lot of us can continue on almost so seamlessly with the Star Wars. Like there's things that we like and things we don't, but it'd be one thing if this series was trying to be like, well, let's be inspired by George. No, what did the gallery tell us? Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau were going back and they're getting inspired by what inspired George. And so I just feel like The Mandalorian, for what it's worth, is like this very pure Star Wars story. And yeah, I'm someone who says the best Star Wars of the last 10 years has been Clone Wars. But The Mandalorian is quickly elevating itself through all these different perspectives. Because what have we always wanted to do? You've always dreamt of telling a Star Wars story. And most of us will never get that chance. But in The Mandalorian, you've seen 7 or 8 different perspectives on Star Wars. And they line up all pretty well. And so, like, I'm just so happy, like, the joy and the theories that bring Scotty and Jerry freaking out and Pete finding, like, this richness in the endless possibilities of Thrawn. Like, this is what the series is doing so well. And it's a really beautiful freaking thing.
That was so well said, David.
Absolutely.
Like, that was incredible. You're a G. Like,
I'm done.
That's the thing, though. You got to realize this. Like, I'm very much someone that's been reflective my entire life, but like this moment right now, this whole thing we're all experiencing, it may be extremely brief, but it's so nice just to soak in it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we'll never have this moment again. The week between each episode has been so exciting, even if it's about egg discourse. Like, it's still exciting. I don't care. It may be.
We've been pushing here on Beyond the Blast Doors.
Yeah,
you can go watch right now.
You literally, like, it's like you. I just feel like, you get a movie every 2 years, which was great. I enjoy that so much, or every year. And you had its really highs and its really low moments, but right now you get something every week, and Bad Batch is going to continue it. Even the gallery coming out December 25th is going to continue it. It's just so tremendous to think that 15 years ago, when this was all gone, like we never would have thought we'd get this. And now you're telling me Thrawn showing up and it's tying into a Ahsoka, and it's just like, it's like, I feel like I'm living in a dream every day. I get to talk to all of you. Everyone in the chat interacts with me on social media. It's like, I have never been happier in a fandom in my entire life. There are so many negatives, and you can acknowledge those negatives, but like at the same exact time, those negatives are always going to get outweighed by the positives, by the people that help make this content. Like, I'm just going to plug the network here. You will never find us gripe. Like, you will never find us complaining. It's just not going to happen. That's not who we are on this network.
But we do it constructively. I mean, we have a fair and open conversation about the stuff we don't like.
We have people of many different Star Wars faiths, if you will.
Yeah, truly.
Yeah.
But I mean, Scotty, I said it this morning. I tweeted it this morning. I said the first 6 hours of today felt like right after The Force Awakens. Everybody was so excited. But, you know, it's funny. I think it was Semper Fi Danny, who's been a fan of the show for a long time. She posted something to the effect of, and I was going to post it, but I felt negative. But I agree with what she's saying is, at what point, essentially, what's the clock that ticks before people start posting negatives? And there was a lot of, not a lot, but there was enough. And I will say this, it helped me mute the hell out of my Twitter stream today, because anybody who had something, just because there was a lot of nitpicky stuff today. There was a lot of, oh my God, they totally ruined the Ahsoka character. All right, mute you, because you're not, and you can feel that way, but why are you shitting on other people's enjoyment the first day? You know what? I came out of Rise of Skywalker and I was like, that wasn't bad. Now I've thought about it for a while, and I'm never going to say, Scotty, Jerry, David, you're wrong for liking that movie. But we could talk, but let's have a conversation about it, and don't just start firing off how it ruined your favorite character. Look, everybody's got their opinion, and I get that, but there was that first 6 to 8 hours today of just pure joy on the timeline, which we haven't seen in I don't know how long.
And Pete, can we take this a step further? Because like I just went on my gospel, but I would like to learn your perspective, and that not only do you get to digest this story like all of us, but you have the opportunity to share it with your kiddos, which is an experience that we don't have. And so this episode, because I know Jackson, for example, is really into Clone Wars and Ahsoka. So can you give us that insight as a father? Like, what is this series allowing you to share with your kids?
And this season's been so full of all that really cool stuff, because a couple weeks ago, he couldn't remember her name, but he was like, it's that woman from the Clone Wars. It's that. And so he knew who she was. And today it was so awesome. This was like, I felt like either I've been a complete failure as a father or a complete winner, because I said, hey, Jack, do you know who that is? He said, yeah, that's Ahsoka Tano. And I was like, awesome. All right, good. Win. But
Parenting
he just
level achieved.
And it was funny because in looking at some of the tweets that said that it doesn't look like her, blah, 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 I was like, how does she look to you? He's like, she's cool. And so for him, it worked. And so for me to then also take, as I've told the story before, Jack's entry to Star Wars was Clone Wars. So any Clone Wars connection they make brings Mandalorian and think about that for Mandalorian, right? Right now, today, with Ahsoka Tano coming in, 2 weeks ago with Bo-Katan coming in, if you came in through Star Wars, into Star Wars through Clone Wars, like my son, you own this series. If you came in last year and you saw Tatooine and you were an OG OT guy like me, that is for me, right? If you're a sequel trilogy person, last week they threw you a bone. They threw you
a big bone.
Right?
Yeah.
So yeah,
a big old Snoke bone.
A big old Snoke bone. But so they've done a phenomenal job of making there something in here for everybody. And and here's where I'll throw the true fan versus not true fan. And I know that that's a really crappy phrase, but if you are going to argue that, and I saw this argument, they're trying to tie it to the sequel trilogy, they're going to kill it. Bullshit. This is about enjoying the entire series. And this is why Filoni is so important. And we said it before about Filoni being a phenomenal storyteller. May not be the best director, may not be the best writer, but an amazing storyteller, because he's going to make connections. And again, Filoni has never told a story that we expected. And I always go back to Rebels, because I expected Rebels to be this cool story about this rebel sect that's going to go in and be part of the bigger story. I had no idea it was going to be a very important family story, a Jedi story, a Force story, a Thrawn story. And he's doing that here. But what he's doing now, because he's been given the full palette, is he's taking the entire Star Wars canon and putting it into this 40 minutes per week and giving everybody something to enjoy. And if you don't enjoy Mandalorian, then maybe this isn't for you, right? And I hate to put it to that extreme, but I don't know anybody who doesn't like Mandalorian right now.
I agree. You're 100% right, man.
I can roll with that. And go ahead. So I think someone was about to say something.
Well, I was going to say 100% what you said, Pete. Like, this is one thing that I've been thinking about today was how I didn't expect Mandalorian to be the glue that holds the universe together, right?
Yep.
Yeah, the
That
Uniter.
brings all the canon together. Like, you guys are talking about like Bo-Katan and
Ahsoka Tano?
Ahsoka. Yeah, Ahsoka's the big one. But I'm still like stuck on Cobb Vanth. That was the first episode.
Right. Yep.
That's like a side character from a novel. Like, this is insanity. But if I may, if we're talking about people, maybe enjoying it or not enjoying it, there was someone on Twitter, and I'll call them out, or not call them out. I will shout them out. That's no Moon. It's a Thomas. At Thomas L. Harper had a very awesome thought, and I asked him if I could share it on my Twitter and stuff. So I took screenshots and stuff. But I'm going to share it right now, if I may. The thread is that all right?
Yeah.
Just kind of about the ups and downs of those who enjoyed it, yet those who may have a problem with it, right? Though a legitimate problem, right? Because there are both. There are those who want to complain and those who legitimately have life experience.
Yeah, let's do two of them because we don't want to give them too much attention. But yeah, go ahead, fire one off.
Okay, well, no, this is amazing. Here we go. So he said, if you love today's episode, please don't be the person who thinks it's necessary to jump into the mentions of those who don't share that love. If your joy is somehow lessened by seeing other people offer criticism, it's time to take a step back for some reflection. And he continues, I had a blast with The Last Jedi, but I also realize its creative choices were bound to hit people differently. Many of Ahsoka's biggest fans literally grew up with her character acting as though they should all be grateful and fawn over any appearance of her character is nonsense. Speaking from personal experience, it sucks big time to not be into a Star Wars story that so many others seem to love. We ought to listen to those fans and let them feel that it's okay to share a non-glowing opinion rather than acting like they don't fit in. Imagine for a second, and this is the last one.
Jeez.
Imagine for a second being an Ahsoka fan who has loved her since the Clone Wars movie, then getting massively excited about the rumors of her live-action debut, only to be disappointed in the final product. That is to hit really hard. We should be there for those folks, not turn our noses up. This is to me just as much as it is to anyone, frankly. And I think we've lost Scotty.
Yeah, Scotty to step out.
But yeah, he's hit his midnight, and he's turning into a pumpkin. So we're okay. But what do you guys think about that? I thought that was very wise. Where it's like, it's not like you can't enjoy it. It's that which is a great thing to learn about Star Wars Twitter. Don't jump into people's mentions who are like maybe hurting right now. I hate that I did. Because they honestly probably don't feel like I liked this as much. I wish I liked this more than I do.
Yeah, I guess I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on this, but at the
No,
same
no,
time,
no.
it is kind of like the conversation that we have on the network all the time, right? Like,
Right.
we want to have a very positive, fun Star Wars conversation, and
Yeah.
we're going to disagree. Pete and I disagree a lot all
Absolutely.
the time, but you just got to have respect for each other, and I think that's all.
That's the key.
I think that's all that it's mentioning.
Yes.
Art is subjective.
Yes.
And so what lands with me, what lands with you, what lands with Pete, what lands with Frammy in the live chat, Matthew, Gilster, Sam, we're all going to interpret it differently. I think, there is
Absolutely.
something that should be said about like respect, and like depending on how you were raised, that's just common sense to be respectful. And so,
Right.
I think on a larger scale, like it kind of disappointed me today that it kind of felt like there were people out there that it was a race to get Ahsoka Tano put out on Twitter as what she looked like with live action. And like, I feel bad for the guy who's like, damn, I worked a 12-hour shift today for Black Friday and I missed it. And so, but there's also something to be said about staying off social media. So like, it's a very complicated conversation. I think that people are extremely emotional about it. Pete, did you have anything you wanted to add about this?
Well, the only thing I would add is, and there were a couple times today where I saw somebody who had a complaint about something. And it was the first time that I, as you guys know, sometimes I get involved in things I shouldn't. But it was the first, it was the first time where I was really conscious. I said, look, for example, just some of the issues with actors chosen to play certain roles, right? That's as far as I'll take that. And my first thought was, come on, are we gonna do that here and now? But then I also thought about my feelings on the Gina Carano situation, and instead of either defending it or trying to pull that conversation further, one of the things that Twitter can be helpful is just to go and shout it out at somebody, right? You want to go out and you just want to say, I'm mad about whatever. And sometimes
get it out.
Yeah, sometimes it's enough just to hit the send button. But there's no reason for me to get in there and say, well, I won't go into the details on the actor situation because I can't go there.
That's okay. Don't go there.
But the point is, it was a situation where let them yell. I muted a lot of people today who went into different directions, whether it was because they didn't like the way she looked, they didn't like the actress, they had some sort of issue with, somebody said Dave Filoni had the opportunity to make this his biggest thing ever and he screwed it up. Nope, I don't need to hear that. And this is, John Hoey on a Resistance broadcast says it all the time, and he and I have talked privately about it. It's about curating your timeline. And this today was a great day to do that, because you're going to find people it was very clear to me, the people who just wanted to shout and say, look at me, I have a problem with something. I didn't want to do that. This was the best Star Wars day since 2015, right? This was such a great Star Wars day for fans who have been committed to all the circular stuff, all the stuff that is on animation, in comics, in books. Today was your day, and to be angry about it for some reason that didn't have to do with the show didn't really feel right to me. And so it was a good opportunity, but I also didn't draw them in and have the argument. There was no reason for it.
Yeah, I think you're right. Let's dive into the live chat real quick. Nick on Facebook says, this was an incredible Star Wars day. Sam, in my opinion, Rosario did the best possible job of bringing such a complex character into live action. Yeah, like when she was jumping around doing parkour. And that's not easy to do when in animation you can do anything and everything.
Right.
And she's able to mimic that to a really great ability. And,
so amazing.
Could we show her scaling a wall in live action? Not on the budget that The Mandalorian has. Is it larger than most shows? Sure. But she jumps out of frame, she lands, it works. I thought she freaking crushed it, and I want to celebrate that. Gannon is in the live chat saying something about eating dinner. That wasn't the one that I wanted to pull up. He
I
says,
would say McClunky back to Pat there, because he said McClunky when he came in. So.
McClunky, brother.
McClunky.
He says it channeled samurai films. This could have had Mando and Baby arriving earlier, but as a little opening tease before that, it worked for me. it isn't going to work for everyone. I think he's talking about
Right.
that opening sequence where we get Ahsoka Tano literally slaughtering soldiers and coming to the gate. And that's something that I'd like to talk about. I think
Yeah.
that with Ahsoka, we're so used to this. Well, now we're used to like this really kind of like elegant and mature Ahsoka that we have through Rebels. And here we are in The Mandalorian. Like this is a angry, fired up Ahsoka. At times, her eyes very intense. You see her saber blades reflecting in her eyes. She is on a mission, almost, and there seems to be fear there. Pete, I'd like to ask you,
Yeah.
how did you digest this version of Ahsoka? Because I don't think we've seen this version of Ahsoka.
Yeah. So two things before I answer that, because I think that's really good. But one thing before I answer that
Yeah.
is I have zero problem with her being introduced the way she was in this episode, because there's a very deliberate reason why this is chapter 13 and not season 2, chapter 5. This is this is a story. And if you were reading this as a novel, chapter 13 would have started with, the guards with their masks walk through the woods and were met by a blah, blah, blah. Right. So this is fine. I have no problem with that at all. But to your point, what I found really interesting about this Ahsoka, and I think I was saying this maybe with Nick Milkey on text, was this was and if it wasn't Nick, I apologize, it might have been somebody else. But she was very Vader-like. She was this was a brutal Ahsoka Tano.
Yeah.
She wasn't deflecting laser bolts. She was murdering motherfuckers. She was in it. And it was a vicious, which was, not very Jedi of her, I don't think. I mean, we know that Jedi had to do that sort of thing, and we saw them do it. But she is no Jedi, and she was brutal. She was doing what she needed to do, and it was great. And I also feel like that ties to another point that is so important to me, is the fact that she did not ever say she wasn't a Jedi, but she didn't ever say she was a Jedi. And I thought that was going to be her out for training the child. I thought she was going to say, I walk away from the Order 30 years ago or whatever it was. But she never went that way. So
I thought it was interesting how many people were saying how it felt like a horror movie. There were like some elements of this episode felt of that horror genre, and I really enjoyed it. I like the entire time it was very intense. I thought at any moment something could come out and attack, especially when they're like sitting in the woods and Ahsoka's trying to learn who the hell the child really is.
Yeah.
There felt like something was larger lurking, and I've had that sense a lot during this season. And so I think it was incredibly well done. Gilster here, a super chat. Holy crap. A long time ago in a galaxy far away.
Gilster.
Thank you, Gilster.
Love it. So good to see you in hanging out with us on a Friday night. It's funny, like Friday nights during Thanksgiving used to be like a night to go out and party. And now this year it's night to hang in and party. And we're so glad that you're look at it this way. This is 24 people at a bar, all talking Star Wars. This is our Star Wars celebration, because the 24 of us
absolutely
would be sitting at a bar tonight with our beers, talking Star Wars, hanging out. And this is what I love about the last 6 months of Beyond the Blast Doors. People like Gilster and Framey and Nick Milkey and all the people who come in on a regular basis and hang out with us. It's just great. So thank you so much, Gilster, for throwing a couple bucks to the network. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Thanks,
love
man,
that.
so
And
much.
not to do like too much of a shameless plug here. You can do super chats on the channel. Also, it is Black Friday still, and there's a lot of holiday shopping. We've actually tried to find you some of the best Star Wars deals, and we have those links for you in the description below. We're affiliates of Amazon. It's just one way that if you do shop through our links, it does help support the channel. So that's all we're going to say about that. We're not trying to like rob you for dollars, but if you do want to support the conversation that way, you're welcome to. Listen, we can keep going and going. I got at least another 15 minutes in me. I don't know about you guys. 24 with us in the live chat.
I'm good for whatever. Oh my
big
gosh.
thanks that
really.
everyone's here. I like this comment here. Where did it go? I'm so sorry. This was from Gannon. My favorite Rosario moment was her making that awkward smile that Ahsoka did in Clone Wars but in live action. That's actually really freaking true. Like some of those things might not translate, and she pulled it off.
That was something that I noticed early on. Was she absolutely nailed the facial expressions, right? Like she had the smile, the awkward smile that Gannon was talking about. She had
What did you guys think of the? What did you think of the
every bit of it?
was it the Morai or whatever? What is that? The bird that
Yeah.
follows Ahsoka?
Yeah.
That it was in there. It was on the branch in the woods.
Before
I
you
still
saw
haven't seen it
Ahsoka.
while I'm watching it.
Yeah.
But-
Before she shows up, it's in the upper left hand corner. It's
Morai.
actually one of the few things that I noticed sitting on the bathroom floor with my shitting dog. I was watching and I noticed that. But I will say this, and again, and thank you so much for the
Thanks so much. man.
Oh, super chat.
Look at the
one
super
thing that
chats.
it's so fun, and this Rosario needs to get a ton of credit for this, because much like you guys were talking about, the thing that struck me that was 100% animation Ahsoka was the way she crossed her arms. The way she just, I can't do it, but there was something about the way they animated her crossing her arms, and she nailed it. It just like subtle things like that make you forget that that's Rosario Dawson. Now, I will admit there were times where I was picking it apart in my head, but for the most part, she got all the mannerisms, which was so great. She was never going to have Ashley's voice. She was never going to be, have the fluidity that an animated, especially a CGI animated character is going to have. But she clearly studied this character, and having Dave direct her was so important.
It was it was exceptional, and just even in that opening sequence where she has the reversed position with the saber.
Yeah,
I thought that was such a cool callback. I don't know if we saw it again, but and then just can we talk about the lightsabers for a minute? I have this image.
I have something about the lightsabers. If we're talking about Ahsoka live action versus live
It was
animation.
spotless. That felt so perfect.
Well, what about that moment when she Shannon was talking about it today on the earlier stream, but when she does that, she does that when she's about to face down Vader in Rebels.
Yep.
That's something I immediately went to. Did she just do her signature I'm gonna put the blades together and remove them as they come out?
I think she always did that to activate those sabers. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's how
she did it a
ignites
couple
them.
times at least.
Yeah.
But it's more prominently in my mind when she's about to face Vader and she goes, does that thing. I'm gonna hit my mic.
Well, can we have that
Couple times
conversation real
probably.
quick? And Pete, I think that you've actually talked about this before. I would love your insight here. Is that Ahsoka's kind of the escape artist? We never see her stay anywhere. She's always walking away from us at the end of a story with her.
She always, every story arc that she has ended with her walking away, which is why I don't think we're going to see her again this series. But I thought, or this season, maybe this series. One of the things that I noticed too is you were saying about sort of her fighting style. There were times, and when you watch it again, watch the big battle in the woods with her. There are times where she turns on the lightsabers just to draw attention and then disappears, which is a brilliant fighting maneuver. And it's so you watch this and you're just like, it's so Ahsoka. And I think I said at the beginning, you could take screen grabs from this episode and tell me they were from Clone Wars, and I would 100% believe it.
Yeah, dude, and also how she could disappear into the fog. I thought they mimicked some of the Force abilities really well.
So
mentioned how she could scale the wall, but the Force speed, I could not believe how well they did that. It kind of felt it's just the deception of when you're watching the speeder bike chase a couple episodes, the last episode, or the pod racer scene. It's she's not moving that fast, but man, they make it feel like she is just cruising. And it was I was shouting, I was visibly up in my seat, not to the extent of Scotty when Thrawn got name dropped, but I was okay, I'm here for this. And it's just one of those examples where, and Andy said this before, Dave Filoni maybe can direct Ahsoka very well. Maybe he can't direct all Star Wars very well, but he knows that character well. I thought the execution was just really great. And, I'm down for Dave getting something larger scale in the future. And maybe probably once needs more reps. But just to have him involved and for him to give us this story, honest to God, maybe I don't need Dave Filoni to tell another Star Wars story as a director. Maybe he just needs to be a counselor.
100%. Yep.
He gave us this story, and how cool is that he gave us this story? I'm just blown away. If he never gets another chance, I think that he can be. If I were him, I'd feel pretty content. I'd be wow, I brought this character in as a smart ass kid in 2008, and I helped progress her, and then I brought her to the on screen. And there's not a lot of people involved with Star Wars that have been able to have that kind of project for as long as Dave. I just think it's
Well, and honestly, if the next time we see her is in an animated version of Rebels 2.0, we have had this sort of in and out of the story, right? We've had this chapter on the way to whatever that is.
Right.
You know what might be interesting too, and I thought of this earlier this evening, is what if she found Ezra? Her and Sabine found Ezra, and Thrawn got away, and that's why she's looking for him.
That's what I was thinking too.
Yeah.
Like this morning when watching it, I was like, what if she's found Ezra? That's why Sabine's not with her.
Yeah.
And we are looking for Thrawn because Thrawn is up to something. Like, I don't know, jump starting the Chiss ascendancy.
Yeah.
Michael?
Or to go back to a theory that we talked about earlier on the show, guys. I mean, what if he is carrying out a special project that he got from the Emperor? Maybe the Emperor foresaw his possible failure. I mean, it could be wrong. And again, you're getting into territory where you're rewriting the original trilogy, and I don't want to do that. You know, one of my pet peeves is there are a lot of things I like about the sequel trilogy, but like I firmly believe, like, I mean, I really thought that the Sith were destroyed in Return of the Jedi when Vader ultimately throws Palpatine down the shaft. Now that's kind of been re-altered. Okay.
Gave
and we're
Palpatine the shaft, you say?
But yeah,
sorry.
But you know, it's like the same thing with Vader. Like, I don't like the Anakin hid the child, because that makes Vader less of a villain and more of an anti-hero.
Yeah.
And I'm not into that. But wow, yeah, I mean, what a great potential. I mean, and to your point, does this open the door more realistically? What if Ezra is there with Luke at the temple at the end of the season? I mean, that lines up. You know, when you bring these pieces together, that puzzle does fit. But you know what though, Pete, Jerry, we have talked about this series going back to last season, and we thought we knew exactly where they were going. And I'll be the first to say, I died on my sword when I was like, oh, like, we're gonna get not just Boba Fett. I said that we were going to get Cad Bane in the next episode of The Mandalorian. We're probably not seeing Boba Fett freaking again in this series.
I think you're right. Yep.
And that's okay. And that's okay. But that's the fun of it. And like, this is a great and safe place to explore those potentials. We got a live question here from Holo Chronicles in the live chat. Andy threw this out there, and I'm going to stop talking. And I want Pete to go with this. Who has a better historical Star Wars arc, Ahsoka or Thrawn?
I think the definition becomes, it depends on what the word historical means, right? I think Thrawn has been in the canon and non-canon for 30 years almost, right? So but the problem is his story has developed started down one train, and then it skipped the track and continued forward. So I think Ahsoka's arc, I would say by a long shot, because I said this, I think, on an old streaming Star Wars at the end of Clone Wars, is I looked at Clone Wars at the end and said, this was Ahsoka's story. We have 7 seasons of story for Ahsoka that we don't have for any other, not even Luke Skywalker, not even Darth Vader. We have more time with Ahsoka than anybody else, as far as seeing her from, you know, getting her master and becoming a Padawan, all the way through now to seeing her as sort of a renegade ex-Jedi. So I think it's Ahsoka's story.
I really love that. And you're absolutely right. And, you know, when you say that, Pete, would you also be able to support, because I always thought that we were watching the Clone Wars from the perspective of Ahsoka, kind of like how you watch the original trilogy from C-3PO and R2-D2. Do you think that's in line with what you're sharing right now?
I think that's the way it started, and I think if you watch season 7 with the mindset that I've now taken, it makes it feel like it's closure to her story, right? If R2 and 3PO got the respect they should have in the sequel trilogy, I'm sorry, not should have, we weren't robbed, whatever, they could have, if that was the story choice. Then I think it would have been the same. But Ahsoka really came into her own, and again, I know this isn't a conversation about Clone Wars, but I still firmly believe that the Martez sisters are a critical piece of Ahsoka's story, and those were not filler episodes. Those were not SJW episodes. They were critical to Ahsoka's development.
Yeah, Jerry, real quick, we have a caller standing by, but Jerry, go ahead and give your point real quick.
Well, all I was gonna say was Scotty J-Ro, those episodes matter. Just because he had a little problem with those. But no. Everything that Pete was saying, my answer is honestly Ahsoka. Because if you think about the character that has the most history, Ahsoka goes through the prequel trilogy, the originals. She continues into the sequel trilogy. We hear her like Ashley Eckstein, at least. Maybe from the World Between Worlds in Rise of Skywalker. So that's my answer. So let's go ahead and bring on the next caller because I've been waiting for a new caller. Let's bring him in.
All right, Pete, who do we got?
We have Gannon. We have Patrick Covey. How are you, man?
Hey, Pat, how's it going, buddy?
Christmas hat. That Santa hat.
Hey,
very
what's up, guys?
festive. I like it.
Yeah, day after Thanksgiving. Got to throw it on.
It's time.
Patrick,
It's time.
what's your reaction to this episode, man? How do you feel about the Jedi?
Well, first of all, I want to apologize to my buddy 2Med2 over there on YouTube on his show because we were going to do a post-episode discussion like we've been doing every week, and I fell asleep before the episode.
Good, that means we have
That's
you.
why I wasn't on the 9 o'clock watch along. Frankly,
Right, we got you
I
on
was
our
going to
show
show
now.
up and I woke up at 12.
What do you
Yeah, I
got?
was
What do you
planning
got
to
for
do
the show?
things
What was your
around,
reaction?
Like 3:45, 4 a.m. and
Yeah.
I wake up, I'm like, oh my god,
Hard
it's
to
5
wait.
a.m. I missed it. Crap.
Yeah.
But I did watch the episode. Holy crap, that was awesome. There's a couple things in there I think they're going to set up some stuff down the line. I think it's very minor stuff, but it's definitely going to play in. And if we know anything about Filoni, is nothing is ever held back.
Right.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Absolutely not.
Well, and what do you think about this whole idea that now we're going to go to this Typhoon or Typhoon planet? and we're gonna-
Tython,
Tython.
yeah.
I'm
Tython.
sorry.
It's actually a planet from Legends.
Yeah, so talk about that. What do you know about that planet, and who do you think the Jedi is that's going to be showing up?
If I'm not mistaken, I think Tython was originally the original planet for the Jedi Order. So it's basically, it's similar in a lot of ways to Octo and how that eventually became the first Jedi Temple we know in canon now. But that's basically where the split happened between the Jedi and the Sith. So we know Baby's
Big
going through some
things.
stuff now. We actually have a name
Yeah.
for the for that character. So I think when they go to Tython, I think there's going to be some stuff that happens there. Because he's got a very split personality. He's almost like a little like, I call him Anakin Light now. Because after Ahsoka's description, it's like, yeah, he's got attachments to Din now. So it's like, where are we going from here? You know, there really is the possibility.
Patrick, I want to jump in on what you just said there, calling him Anakin Light, because I think that's one of the things about this episode that's really important that I recognized, and that is, this could be the first time that they make a smart decision about a potential Jedi and recognizing that maybe you don't train this guy, right? I mean, they thought that about Anakin and they sensed all the things that were coming, but they still went forward with it. And Ahsoka's knowledge, and again, we don't know what Ahsoka learned about Vader after she faced him, but to be able to come into that and look at, read the child's mind, find the darkness. That, again, that word is not used without purpose in this episode. To recognize that and realize that he should not be he shouldn't be trained. That's a huge step for anybody who's of the Jedi Order, whether they're still active or not.
Well, and let's go there real quick, because Pete, you just mentioned the darkness. Patrick would like your take on this. Is the darkness the evil that the child can do himself, or is it what he has witnessed and it's trauma now that's impacting his decisions?
Well, it's a little twofold. Well, first of all, we now know because of this episode, he lived in the Jedi Temple.
Right.
Part one of that, if you guys aren't familiar with the
so
deeper
huge.
lore, Jerry probably knows this, and a lot of you guys know this. There is a dark side temple underneath the Jedi Temple.
Underneath,
on Coruscant.
Yep.
So there's a little bit of influence there. It affected the masters on the council. It clouded their visions. So there's a whole to do about that. And then on top of that, you throw Order 66 in the mix with that, and he probably witnessed a lot of stuff. And they kind of hinted that he was hidden by somebody. We don't know who that somebody is, but after that, she mentioned something about it's kind of like a blur. He doesn't really remember what happened after that. So I'm thinking there's going to be some stuff in there. We don't know what it is, whether that's him trying to close off from his past. It could be like a PTSD experience where you like try to you're trying to come to terms with what you just witnessed. Like if he witnessed Anakin actually killing Jedi, can you imagine like the trauma that he's been through?
Yep.
And we've already seen like little things that have affected him in season 1 and what we've seen in season 2 so far. Like little stuff has scared him. So
I think what's really interesting is you got all remaining systems in the live chat. I'm going to try and bring this up. Just saw an image on social media. Apparently, one of those droids in the episode had the logo of the 7th Fleet, which is Thrawn's fleet, which is really exciting.
That would make sense.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
Interesting.
Whoa.
Very cool. And I guess my thing, and maybe this is the conversation that we can use to wrap it up, because I think it's an interesting conversation, is do we think that this series would allow a chance to have Thrawn and have Gideon cross, or do you think that they are separate, that you have Thrawn working on something much larger? Gideon is micro. Gideon is just the big bad for the Mandalorian to defeat.
I think they both have different goals, because there's a lot of stuff that got set up in the Aftermath books, and that's that these Imperial like split factions, they all have different goals they're trying to attain. Whether they might end up having the same end result in a way, they really don't care. They're really going to go about how they've been going about things. We've learned that a lot of people involved in the Imperial side, whether they're small players or large players, some of them have self-interest. Some of them feel like they're actually doing something good for the galaxy. So there's a whole like spectrum of different Imperials. So I think Gideon's got his own plans, and I think Thrawn's he's a deep thinker as well. And I think I was talking about this with Michael a couple weeks ago, that in a lot of ways Gideon is kind of like a deep thinker and tactician like Thrawn was. And then holy crap, we got this name drop in the new episode. I was not expecting that.
Right.
I'm just
so huge.
You know what this is, and here's the thing. What's so great is we've talked for 2 hours now about this one episode. We're going to be talking about this now for the next 6 days, and then we got to start the cycle all over again when we get
The whole
next
week.
episode,
Yeah.
The whole week.
Yeah.
which is really exciting. Patrick, before we let you go, is there one thing that you want to shout out about this episode of The Mandalorian before we let you go?
Now you're putting me on the spot, David.
It's okay, man. But we're at the 2 hour mark, and we're starting to turn into pumpkins. So we want to make sure we're running more.
If there was something
Pumpkins that have to pee.
stood out, there's a whole story about this new character that was in this episode. We don't know anything about her, but it seems like her and Ahsoka have some sort of past, and I'm wondering if she makes a little story mention about this being tied into the Clone Wars. I would not be shocked if this character shows up in the Bad Batch show.
Oh, wow.
Ooh.
That's
There's got to be
another
a tie
great
in
hot take.
somewhere, because they've
like
met
that.
somewhere,
I like
or it's
that.
coming in a book or a comic. It's
Well,
got to be coming down the road.
What's
soon.
really interesting is that we
Love
just
that.
had on B2B Live this past week, we had Jordan Mason on the show with us, and he actually reported that Bo-Katan will appear in the Bad Batch. And so it's kind of curious to see how there are these intersections of these different series. Even though the Bad Batch, obviously time-wise doesn't line up with the Mandalorian, it's still interesting how we see these little bits where we could see some crossover. It's really fascinating.
Yeah, there's really a lot of options still available with the Clone Wars in terms of storytelling. They could start doing some flashback stuff like the sequel films did. That's now a new possibility in this new era of Star Wars storytelling. So possibilities are endless, and I say just let's keep watching and seeing what happens.
Hell yeah,
Awesome.
Patrick. Thanks for joining us, man. You have a good rest of your night.
Seriously,
you guys
thank you so
stay
much,
tuned.
bud.
Thanks, Patrick.
Patrick Covey there. He's one of the best.
One of
Really
the
great
great,
love
one of
him.
the greats, man. One
If
of the
you're not,
greats.
you have to follow him on Twitter. He's always got these little tidbits. You're like, I didn't even think of it that way. That's awesome.
He's someone great to have in your corner.
Yeah.
Everybody could stop by. Guys, it's been 2 hours, and we could go
Yes.
longer. But you know what? We have a whole nother week, and we have a lot more time to keep talking about this series. Before we go, Jerry, anything that you want to drop before we get the hell out of here?
Galenorian Sabers talking about the Lothcats. There were two, actually. He said, Lothcat! There were two. And they both scared that one dude that I actually kind of liked. He was just, I love how like unceremonious he was. But besides that,
Wait, was there a
I love
loft cat
that
in this
Matthew
episode?
brought
There were two.
hashtag
That's
the
what we just
mule.
said.
There were two. There were
In
two
this
when they were
episode?
looking for the Mando, like in the little like in between the houses,
Yeah.
the dwellings. It like goes. It's real quick. You
Okay.
blink and you miss it, but it's like
I'm gonna pick up.
like it hisses and scares that one dude twice.
Okay. All right. I'm
But
sorry.
I love
I'll
those
have to check
things.
for that.
No,
Go
no,
ahead.
no, you're good. But then also I love that Matthew is bringing back hashtag the mule, referring to our lovely host David. So thank you.
I don't have to pee. I'm not the one with small bladder. But hey, Pete,
That's
before we
me.
get out of here, is there anything specifically that you want to
Too
say
many
before we get
mules.
out of here?
I just think it's fantastic that, and it says so much about this episode and so much about the Mandalorian and where we are as a Star Wars community that we just spent 2 hours talking about a 46-minute episode. And this is the second time today that Beyond the Blast Doors has been on live talking about this episode. What does that
So
tell you
much
about
to talk
this show?
about.
It was, yeah,
So
100%.
much.
So this has been great. Thank you so much for joining us, everybody who hung out with us. This has been really, really great.
You guys
This
are the
is-
real MVPs.
Hell yeah. Sam Carey in the live chat. This was so great. Excited to be part of the Beyond the Blast Doors community. We're so glad to have you. Up next for Beyond the Blast Doors Saturday, tomorrow morning, we have a Bombat Cast episode dropping, correct?
Yes, I was not a part of that, but Scotty talked to I'm trying to remember his name.
That's okay. That's why you follow Bombcast on
Docking Bay
Twitter.
94. Docking
Oh
Bay
yeah,
94.
right. Brad Waynerdy. Yep.
Yeah.
Brandon
He's on
Waynerdy,
there.
yep.
I believe they were going to talk a little bit about our favorite Rick.
Rick McCallum.
Not R-I-K, R-I-C-K.
McCallum.
So there you go.
Fam, it's been a lot of fun. Check
Oh
out
my
Bombat
gosh.
Cast tomorrow. You can always continue
Check it
the
out.
conversation on Twitter at BTBDNet. You can also find us all across Twitter. We're everywhere. Pete and I spend a lot of time on Twitter. We probably should knock that off. But you know what? This was
More than I
incredible.
should.
Thanks for joining us for the Star Wars conversation, and we will see you soon.
I am Bo-Katan, Clan Kryze. I was born on Mandalorian, taught in the Purge. I am the last of my line.